Second. To my kids to feed the dog. I forgot because I left early.
We didn't touch that.
Shouldn't we go in committee room number 1 and they tell everybody to stand up?
Why don't you do it? We'll wait here for you. And do.
I'll stand.
Yeah, we're going to try it again? All right. We'll see what happens? All right. So whenever you're ready, Bill.
Okay, all rise, please. And just before the mayor calls the meeting to order, I will note, as I just explained to council in the room, we do have a number of videos that we will attempt to display. We certainly could watch them here. The challenge is to make sure that we've also shared those with those people that are watching via WeStream as well. So we'll attempt, I'll turn it over to the mayor, and of course the first thing on the agenda is the O Canada meeting. We do have a staff person in the building who is going to attempt to share their screen, and that's how we'll attempt to share the video. So I'll let the mayor take it from here. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Clerk. So again, he asks us to all stand, even those on the cameras, as we attempt once again to do the O Canada performance. Just before we do, I'd like to introduce it, and with any luck, it's going to work. So welcome to today's council meeting of Tuesday, May the 12th. So Ella Sacco, we're going to try this. It's been pre-recorded by Ella. She's 12 years old. She's a grade 6 student at Notre Dame Elementary Catholic School. She's an avid dancer with Infinite Motion Dance Studio. She's often in theatrical performances with Linus Hand Productions. Like most of us, she's finding lots of ways to stay engaged during the quarantine time. She loves doing her online assignments and video chatting with her friends. She's even doing virtual dance lessons online, as well as cooking, baking, playing games at home, and with her parents and her brother. She says she's doing her part to stay home and crush the curve.
Canada,
Here we go.
our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee ride, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Et Tavala, deux fois trompé, protégez-la nos foyers et nos. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
All right, great job, Ella. Well, Ella, I'm hoping that you're home watching this right now. I love the Crush the Curve sign on the mantle of your fireplace. It looked fantastic, and you did a terrific job. Thank you very much. So everyone can be seated, and thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, watching at home, we know there's a lot of people tuning in. We're still working through this. It's still a work in progress. I can tell you earlier today I had a regional public works meeting and the Zoom audio wouldn't work. There's lots of glitches and challenges. So work with us. Please be patient. It's, as I say, a little bit of a work in progress. Thank you to those of you that are here and everybody. For those of you watching at home, we are physically distancing in the chambers. Chambers have been sanitized. We've got diffusers with disinfectant. So we're doing all that we need to do. Some of us are also wearing masks as well. So we will move along. First order of business after O Canada is the adoption of the minutes from the April 21st meeting. Motion by Councillor Strange, second by Councillor Thompson that we receive. Do you have something you want to speak to, Councillor Lococo? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering if on the minutes we can address who's here physically and who's here electronically?
Sure,
I didn't
we can do
notice
that.
that on the last one.
Well, why don't we ask Mr. Clerk, are you able to do that, make that addition to the minutes?
Yes, we can. For the last meeting, everyone that did participate from council's perspective was here physically, but we can make note of that for today's meeting and going forward.
Who
Th-
zooms
thank
in
you.
and who's here? Yeah, sounds good. If there's no further questions, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, thank you for that. Disclosures of a pecuniary interest. Councillor Pietrangelo.
Your worship?
Yes, you totally
Okay.
have to.
Okay. PD 2020-19, your worship, I have a conflict. I have family members with a financial interest related to the property in question. I've written out my conflict. I guess I'll just leave it here for the clerk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You just ask that you mail that to him. Okay, moving along to the mayor's notes. First off, we start with an obituary. Wilma Morrison. Wilma's a Niagara hero, and we're sad to have lost her. She was a tireless advocate of Niagara's Black history. Notably, she fought to save the BME Church in Niagara Falls from demolition in the 1990s. It's where former slaves congregated after fleeing the U.S. via Niagara's Underground Railroad. Thanks to her, it was named a heritage site in 2000. This was only one of her many feats for the Black community. She was 91 years old. She was very feisty, a ball of fire, great energy, wonderful lady, and she's going to be dearly missed by many. So we wanted to acknowledge her passing, and I know there's some more things in the works to acknowledge her as well. COVID-19 good news stories. Just want to thank everyone who participated in the Crush Curve Caravan. The community came together in a big way. I want to thank the fire department out in Chippewa for giving us the 1938 pumper truck, along with some great cars of interest. I know Councillor Dabrowski helped us as well, nail down some vehicles. We had the General Lee, we had the DeLorean from Back to the Future. We had a lot of very notable, cool vehicles. You know, it was funny because I know one of my neighbors had asked me, well, when do they come into our neighborhood? And I said, well, Saturday morning, but it's no Macy's Day Parade. And she said, are you kidding? She goes, right now, we'll look for any kind of excitement. And it was so well received. I was on the back of the fire truck the Sunday, that nice Sunday, and oh my gosh, I can't get over the responses. People were wearing unicorn outfits. They're dancing the Macarena. Well, that was Wayne Thompson and his wife Bonnie were doing the Macarena. But I could tell under the mask, I knew it was him. But they had bubble machines going, bubbles blowing. They had, the spaghetti from your pool. They had people waving those. Kids wrote messages on chalk on their driveways. We had banners and signs everywhere, huge ones the size of the front lawns. People banging pots and pans, people playing tubas and trumpets. It was unbelievable to see some neighborhoods all come running out of their yards when they heard the siren from the fire truck come. And I just want to say, our staff did an amazing job. 4 days, the logistics were enormous. 4 days, we had every single residential street in the city, some a couple of times. And the people's response, they were just very grateful. And to see them all coming out to the roads and how come you haven't come here? When are you coming here? It was staff worked so hard and all the volunteers. We had dozens and dozens of volunteers and local businesses who supplied lunches to the people that were in these vehicles. And I'll tell you, one of the challenges you don't think of when I was in the vehicles, because all the restaurants are closed, there's nowhere to go pee. So if you've got to go, and they said, well, where do you go? And I said, that's a great question. You got to go home, I guess. I don't know. So that was a challenge we hadn't thought of, but it helped me realize we were doing 9-hour days. These volunteers, they did so great. And I know at that same time, Councillor Strange was doing a fundraiser in his driveway on a treadmill, and he sped it up to look like he was running faster than he really was. I understand he was actually just walking. But we appreciate all the people that participated. And as well, we had the Snowbirds fly over top of all of our houses on Sunday, which was just amazing because they flew from Toronto to Hamilton to Niagara, then off to London. And it's funny, these little things that you can just look up in your yard. And it's our way of saying thank you for following the COVID protocols, staying home. And if you stayed in your yard, you saw the Snowbirds. If you stayed in your yard, you saw the Crush the Curve Caravan. And of course, our goal is to crush the curve. So we want everybody to do their part to help eliminate COVID so that we could move forward. Did you want to speak to the?
Yeah, I just want to say it was very, I heard the caravan of love coming through my, and it was like the ice cream truck. People just went out in the front and kids. I walked out in my pajamas and everyone was screaming. It was awesome. And it was very positive, and you saw everyone on Facebook. They were sending me messages. When do you know what's coming? I would send them the link, but it was very positive, and I think during this time we have to stay positive. And it was great that you get the kids out and the adults and the pans and everything. And just to the point about the Project Share, it was Ron Campaign's girlfriend Melanie, who I know. She was the one on Olden Avenue who came up with the unique idea to actually ride her stationary bike for her 40th birthday. So she did 50 kilometers while I ran on my treadmill, but we raised over, and kudos to her, because that's kind of going to be the new maybe norm of, people doing different events for different charities, and you can't be, in big groups. So they come of unique ways. So hats off to Melanie for doing this, and they raised over $1,700 and 1,700 pounds of food for Project Share. So it was a great event. So kudos to Melanie for doing that.
Yeah, and to you too, Councillor, for what you did. So, life hands us lemons, we make lemonade. That's what we do here in Niagara Falls. So we're working on our way out of it. And speaking of on our way out of it, the Mayor's Back to Business COVID recovery team, we're full steam ahead. We've already had a couple of calls. And right now, all the updates from all the departments are being submitted and consolidated into a report by Dale Morton, the Manager of Strategic and Corporate Initiatives. And you should understand, there's no COVID for dummies. There's no manual for pandemics. So this is a work in progress. This will be a fluid living document. And we're getting input from public health, from other cities, all the other CAOs, the province, of course. So we don't know. But what I will tell you this, we are working very closely with our industries, including tourism. We had a call with the Ministry of Tourism provincially and federally last week. And something that I was really happy to hear, Minister Jolie, the federal minister, said she loves Niagara Falls. She said, my parents had their honeymoon here in Niagara Falls in 1970. So I said, oh, Minister, that's terrific. And I said, let me get out my calculator. And she goes, oh, no, that was my brother. That was my brother. So, and Minister McLeod, well, of course, she's down here all the time. And they said they work together. They speak weekly on the phone. So we've got some asks in to help us get through this recovery period so that when the time comes, we're going to have something spectacular. And I do want to say, without giving away too much, our tourism industry is working very hard to be proactive so that when it's time, when the Premier gives us the thumbs up, we're going to be ready to go with an outstanding plan to welcome people back in a safe way. So we're already prepared. We're very, very proactive. And the Minister of Tourism said, we're the first tourism destination to actually have a plan. We're the first in the province. So, and we may be one of the first in the country, but we're very proactive because, like we've said many times before, it's not a time to panic, it's a time to plan. And we are planning and we're being proactive. Your Emergency Operations Committee, we meet 7 days a week. We do whatever we got to do to get all the information to move the ball forward. So we're definitely helping lead this one through. So our next council meeting will be Tuesday, June the 2nd at 1 p.m. And for everyone following along at home, that is our new time right now during COVID. And Mr. Clerk would like to comment as well.
We do have a Crush the Curve video.
Oh,
Standby if you want.
okay, great. So you heard that? Watch your video screens. We have a Crush the Curve video. Short and sweet. And also, lastly, I'd like to acknowledge all of those who have lost someone during COVID-19. We know a lot of families have been impacted by this in a lot of ways. Some of you, it's sad you haven't been able to see your family or hug your family or spend time together. Mother's Day just passed. Wish happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. And to those of our family and friends who we've lost during this COVID-19, we send out our condolences to all of you. We will definitely get through. That's why it's important everyone does their part so we can get through this sooner rather than later. So thank you for that, Council. So we'll move on to presentations. Item 6.1, Mr. Clerk, we've got a presentation for the Canada Summer Games. So we've got do we have the video? Is it operational?
Yes, again, there's just another short video that was submitted from the Canada Summer Games staff. So as soon as Heather, she's in her office, she'll share her screen and play that video.
That's me, by the way, with the mask on.
Love it.
I'm anticipating, and if this is a teaser, I can't wait to see the show. Sweater? I didn't have one either.
You had one on there.
Did I?
Yeah, of course.
I don't think I did. Did I? I don't have one. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they just put it in and make it look like I was wearing one. I don't think I did. I had my city one. No, the city, that's a city jacket. You've got one. Everybody got one. Yeah, you got the crest. Yeah. Yeah, check it, look closer. They all got the crest, right? All the city jackets do. Yeah, you got one. It says Thompson across the back. Yeah. So that was the Canada Games video, of course, for 2021. We don't know exactly what's happening because especially the qualifiers for the Canada Summer Games are this year, right? So we don't know where that's at, if they're all being scheduled, if they're happening. But either way, we're still planning for the games to happen next summer. Fingers crossed. So, yes, Councillor Strange.
Very exciting too because the Olympics might be going on around the same time, so
Yeah.
you can kind of pack that together and, just for us to get the games, I was part of the bid committee and it was amazing that we got it. We went against some big municipalities and us as a region put a bid in, we actually beat Ottawa, which was
Yeah.
pretty crazy, so it's awesome. It's going to be a huge economic impact, especially for Niagara Falls, because everyone that comes down and all the visitors from all around the provinces and the territories and the athletes and all the family members are going to want to come down. Where do you think they want to stay? They want to stay in Niagara Falls, so we hope we go back to a little bit of our new norm and it'll be a great impact for the city.
Yep, definitely will be. That'll be exciting if everything comes together nicely for us. So moving along on to the planning portion of the council agenda, item 7.1. Mr. Clerk, could you, I'll just borrow that if I could. Thank you, sir. So I guess I've done this enough times. I shouldn't have to read this, but Mr. Clerk, if you could please introduce the next item on the agenda.
Okay, again, just before I introduce the item, this is a planning public meeting. We do have some people standing by via Zoom, so we will attempt at the appropriate time to connect to those individuals. We do remind everyone in the room, as the mayor had pointed out, please turn on and off your microphones when you stand up to speak. And I've also been reminded that the audio does come through much clearer if we just slow our pace down just a little bit, and I myself need to be reminded of that. So, okay, a public meeting is now being convened to consider a draft plan of subdivision and to consider a proposed amendment to the city's zoning bylaw to permit 18 lots for detached dwellings and a block for 12 on-street townhouse dwelling units at 6642 St. Thomas More Drive. Notice was given by first-class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on April 21st, 2020, and by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passing of the draft plan of subdivision and the zoning bylaw amendment, to participate in any site plan process if applicable, or preserve their opportunity to appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal, at least with regards to the zoning bylaw amendment portion only, shall give notice to the city clerk immediately after today's public meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And just before I ask our planner to speak, just a reminder, I've received some notification. Make sure your microphones are on and you're speaking directly into the microphone. It's hard to pick up. And I know some of the people are concerned at home that they're not able to hear all the councillors. So I now ask our Director of Planning, Mr. Hurlovich, to please explain the purpose and the reason for the proposed draft plan and bylaw amendment. All right, I see Mr. Hurlovich, but I don't see his lips moving. Looks like his screen has frozen. Or he's meditating.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing, just Mr. Hurlovich is frozen.
Okay. All right, now, oh, there he goes. He moved a bit. Yeah, he's slowly turning. Has he got a slow connection?
Looks like he's calling in from the States.
Yeah.
I wonder, is there a phone number if we need him to call in through our technical people? I'm sure you're listening to this. Is there a phone number Mr. Hurlovich can phone in on? Because I'm guessing he can hear us, but he just can't speak.
So I am actually on the phone now.
Oh, there you are. We hear you, Alex.
Okay. So this is the former Thomas More, school property at the east end of St. Thomas More Drive. It's 4.5 acres in size, extending to the Carlton zoning amendment application, a plan of subdivision, as the city clerk outlined. The can be appealed by the public. The plan of subdivision can only be appealed by the applicant. The proposal is to extend Thomas Monitoring Point
I don't know, maybe our IT staff, we can't understand. Is there a way he could call in on something other than the Zoom line? Because it seems like the internet connection isn't making it through. Maybe we need old-fashioned way to get through.
So I don't know if Alex can hear me, but if he was able to provide us with a phone number, we do have a phone in the room that we could call him on. That might be the easiest way. In the meantime, we are asking him as well to try and share his screen so you can see his presentation, but we'll try and get connected to him via phone if he's able to hear us. If not, this could go by really fast.
Where's Mr. Popular?
Now, Mr. CAO, in the event this doesn't work out, are you able to do the presentation? Or do we have anyone else? Just in case, I don't know.
We could give the highlights of it.
Yeah. So maybe, are we phoning him, Mr. Clerk? Are we phoning Alex to see if we can get an audible connection?
They're trying to get in touch with him now. It looks like he's on the screen. So IT staff may be giving a presentation.
There it is. He's back. He's talking.
Is he talking?
He's miming.
I did a motion that we go beyond 11 and 12.
So is, Mr. Clerk, is anybody able to update us on, are we phoning him? Is he phoning us? Do we have, are we calling his cell line? Just for everybody wondering what the status is. We don't mind waiting as long as we know what we're waiting for.
Yes, Your Worship, staff are working in behind the scenes to try and either gain a connection or get a phone number from him.
Okay. I'm just wondering, in the meantime, should we go on to another part of the agenda beyond planning so we can keep moving forward? And then once we get the connection, we can jump right back. You want to do that, Council? Okay, so maybe we'll go to reports, Mr. Clerk? Okay. So if we go to reports at this point, and then we'll come back to the two planning matters that we have once we get the connection to our planner working. So 8.1, managing the financial impact of COVID. We've got a report with 4 recommendations that was done by our finance department. I'm not sure, is Tiffany going to be doing an oral presentation? Okay, so Ms. Clerk, let's try this out. Let's see if we can get a connection from you to maybe do your report, 8.1.
Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
I don't have a presentation prepared. I'm happy to take any questions, or if you wanted me to walk you through the tables or anything, let me know. I don't want to waste your time. I assume you read it.
Why don't you just do the 4 recommendations? Just give an overview with the 4 recommendations, if you could.
So recommendation number 1 would just be that you receive the report for information. So the highlights were in the tables. Right now, we're looking at a projected deficit of just under 200,000, but that's really very preliminary. I do expect that to change, and it's based on, of course, a number of assumptions that none of us know whether they're going to come true or not. Recommendation number 2 was that the federal provincial governments be requested to provide municipalities with an operating grant to help municipalities fund current operations and maintain appropriate service levels. So I know this is something that the region's already working on. They've asked for all the lower tiers cooperation in submitting one set of information from the region on all of our behalf to send up to the province and the feds to request an operating grant. Recommendation number 3 would be that the federal and provincial governments are requested to establish a new infrastructure building program, perhaps by increasing the amount of gas tax funding made available to municipalities to stimulate the economy later this year. I know there's been a lot of talk from other municipalities hoping that the feds or the provincial government will introduce some sort of funding program where municipal dollars, where it's just funded by federal and provincial, where there's no municipal contribution. And then number 4 is just that we ask the federal and provincial government to accelerate approval of our ISET project application. So that's investing in Canadian infrastructure program. So we're just looking for that to be expedited. We've got a couple projects out there, still some transit ones. We've got a number of approvals from that stream, which was earlier in the year, January, February. And then we were expecting in May, actually, to hear about the Drummond Road application and the Willoughby Chippewa Arena application. So we haven't heard about that yet, but we're hoping to get some good news on that front. So those are the 4 recommendations, and if you have any questions about the rest of it, happy to address them.
Thanks very much, Ms. Clerk. I've got Councillor Thompson and Councillor Pietrangelo.
My first comments are to our treasurer. What a unbelievable report. I don't know how you can do all that, all of the details of what we've been talking and going through this COVID situation over the past couple of months. You've got everything detailed, and a lot of it has to be up to the governments and other agencies. So that's going to come in the future. But congratulations on the report, and I would move the report and the 4 recommendations.
Okay, moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Pietrangelo. Councillor Pietrangelo, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I just wanted to give a couple highlights. A very good report, as Councillor Thompson said. There's a lot of other municipalities, Your Worship, that have started to report. I know there was an article in the newspaper about the region saying that they were going to be running a $9 million deficit up until the end of June. Welland was in there, I think, at like 4.4 million. I know Niagara on the Lake has gone and taken out a line of credit for $10 million. There's a lot of municipalities that are expecting to run large deficits. I guess the message that I wanted to put out there is that this is not the case in Niagara Falls. And it's due to a number of different reasons, Your Worship. There's a lot of discretionary decisions that have been made by staff, and kudos to them, that have shaved some expenses while our revenues have gone down. There's decisions that have been made by council, both present and in the past. You can even go back to the fact that, you know, council has lowered its debt, which allows for more flexibility when you do budgeting. I wouldn't say that we're out of the woods yet, Your Worship. I think the big question is, you know, the casino revenues and when they're going to come back on stream. I know that we've received some money so far for this year, for 2020. But I mean, even if the casinos were closed for the rest of the year, we're still not going to be running large deficits. So I really want to put that out there to the residents to try to ease them, to let them know that, you know, the pandemic is not going to be a reason for council to simply raise the tax rates, and that it's not going to fall back on them, because I think a lot of other municipalities are in the situation where they're not quite sure what they're going to do with their deficit. And in Niagara Falls, this isn't the case. We have options, Your Worship, and I don't really want to get into what those options are right now. But I mean, if things do stop flowing in terms of casino revenues, then I guess that would be the appropriate time to discuss those options.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much, Councillor. Do we have another? Yes, Councillor Lococo.
Councillor Iannoni put her hand up, and then I would like to when
Okay.
she's finished.
Okay, Councillor Iannoni.
Hi, as I went through Tiffany's numbers, I don't see anything that gives us a projection on how we adapt moving forward with increasing safety options on transit, increasing safety options in the council chamber, increasing safety options within City Hall. Are we going to be implementing things as we're watching the City of Toronto and other bigger cities do in regards to being able to social distance, like the supermarkets are doing when they put the plexiglass in front of their workers? Are we going to be doing things like that in regards to different, some of our different buildings where our staff work in? Has any of that cost been factored into anything?
Tiffany?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. That cost is not in there yet, but that was part of my disclaimer for Table 2 in saying that there's still a number of expenses we expect to come. So I think the mayor mentioned early in this meeting about the work we're doing on Back to Business team, and those discussions of increased safety at our counters and all of our service delivery, those are being had right now. So once we kind of understand what the solution looks like, we can then get some quotes and work those in. So the way I envision this report is to bring it back to you, probably the June 23rd meeting, and again, maybe August, I don't know if it's the 12th, the middle of August meeting. Just keep updating those charts as we learn more figures and as our estimates become clearer.
Okay, thank you. And on the same topic, through to you, Mr. Mayor, is your Back to Business committee looking at issues like that?
Yeah, we are. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask our CAO if he'd want to weigh in, and he can maybe give you an update. That's exactly what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Mayor.
great. And could we also know who's in that committee?
Yeah, he's just going to answer the question first. Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
thank you.
So as you recall, at the last council meeting, council passed a motion authorizing the establishment of the committee. Since that time, the committee is comprised of the mayor and several senior managers, and Mr. Felicetti and the business community on a side committee dealing with business recovery. Our plan is to have that report finished in the next couple of weeks. It will include everything that Councillor Iannoni is talking about, plus many other things. It will deal with the employee side, building side facilities, It will deal with how we manage our governance in terms of meetings, meeting spaces. It also deals with the business community and on Mr. Felicetti's side, how we plan on having recovery on the business side. So it'll be a comprehensive document that we are just now in the phases of compiling. We hope to have a draft hopefully sometime in the next week or so, with the final document in the next couple of weeks to be able to have and circulate it to members of council. Our idea would be to get that out to members of council as quickly as we can. We really we're not planning on waiting for another council meeting, although there may be recommendations in that report that will need subsequent approvals of council. But as the Premier and the province start to roll out their recovery plan, we want to make sure that we've got our information in step with what they're doing. So we didn't want to delay having that document circulated to all members of council. So as soon as we can get that, we'll have that out to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. CAO. Does that answer your question, Councillor?
Yeah, and I just wanted to know, will council have any input in that working document? And when you supply us that working document, will it have the names of everybody who sat on that business committee, that back to business committee?
Mr. CAO?
Through you,
Yeah,
Mayor.
to either one of you, like you both sit on it, so either one of you can answer it.
I guess we could have some appendix in it that would outline all the inputs that were into the committee. There's several. And I guess our intent was to get this document together and get it out to council if there's any feedback that council would want to provide us. But as I said, there may be expenditure items and things in the future. The way the document is being set up is to look at what we look like in a stage 1, 2, and 3 recovery. And it's also looking at what we look like in a post-COVID environment. Where the number of the expenditures that you've talked about, Councillor, may come in there may be some in the recovery stages. We're already under the emergency order spending some of those funds, but you may see some additional expenditures and commitments from council on things during the post-COVID recovery period that will be longer-term items. So, as I say, we'll get that document circulated to council as quickly as we can.
Okay, thank you. We good, Councillor?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a couple of questions. Last council meeting, we talked about the $4.2 million for the police with the casino and the OLG. Has there been discussions about what that looks like if they're not working because of the casino? Why are we still spending 4.2 through the whole year?
Yep. So, Mr. CAO?
If I may, Ms. Clark and I have had several discussions on this. You'll note in the report that we're looking at bringing an additional OLG report forward. We really wanted to have Ms. Clark to have an opportunity to have a better idea of what those numbers will look like. We hope to have that, if not at the June meeting, the July meeting with full details on OLG for you. That will include the police discussion.
Okay.
And as well, Council, I should point out, I also spoke with the police chief a couple weeks ago, and we had the same discussion because they understand our OLG revenues are going to impact what we pay to the police for this casino unit. So he was well aware of it, but we did discuss it as well.
Okay, thank you. A couple more questions, please. I've been receiving a lot of emails about transit, and I know a report's coming later, but I just would like to put it out there about the safety of the drivers with masks, riders with masks, plus plexiglass. There's a lot of people that are really concerned, so I hope that that information goes to that report.
Mm-hmm.
And the last,
Mr. CAO, did you want to just?
Councillor, everything you're just mentioning and talking about, those are the kinds of items that we're going to cover in the stage 1, 2, and 3 recovery period.
thank you. And the last one is, I know we talked about it a couple of meetings ago, and this is part of it, but will we be reviewing the budget? I know that this report outlines some of the things, and we're looking at expenditures later, but a lot of communities are reviewing their budget. Is that something that we're going to be doing?
Mr. CAO.
Well, if I could, Mr. Mayor, I think I'd question that, Councillor. I don't think municipalities are reviewing their budget. They're reviewing their financial situation. And I'm not aware of any municipality in the region that actually is opening up their budget. What they are doing is they're opening up their books and looking at exactly what Ms. Clark has done to look at all of our expenditures and losses and present that to you. And if you add those up, you can see right now that we're in a slight deficit position. And that's the approach that many municipalities have done. And I think Councillor Pietrangelo alluded to the fact that many are down way worse than we are. The way most municipalities are going to manage that, they're going to look at what their deficits are at the end of the year and determine how they are going to manage that going into the 2021 calendar year. What we've tried to do is identify to you things that we've put the brakes on that we felt we didn't need to fill, whether it's positions or purchases or materials, to try to help us at the end of the day. So that's the way most municipalities are dealing of it. And again, I have not heard of any municipality, at least locally, and we're on our CAO's calls almost nightly talking about these issues, and that's the approach that most are taking.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Do we have any other questions or comments? Okay, so we are looking for a motion. I'm sorry. Okay, Councillor Iannone?
I just wanted to say, I've been listening to Mr. Todd speak, and in a little while, we're going to be discussing the market at McBain, and I thought that was a fantastic report. So when you're bringing that forward to us in regards to the questions I asked on how we're going to mitigate safety issues with social distancing in the future, I hope we're looking towards something very similar to that report, because I think that report's bang on.
Mr. CAO?
Well, thank you, Councillor. That Ms. Moldenhauer and her team have worked very hard. As you know, the province has dictated that farmers markets are an essential service because of the food products that they provide. That was carried out in conjunction with information back and forth with the health department. And again, Ms. Moldenhauer and her staff did a great job in putting that together. There will be much of that in the report, but as I said, in the post-COVID world, there will be a lot of items like that that will need a further report like that may come to council as we come out of the COVID recovery. So the part of the report may be the setup pitch, if you will, for a subsequent report to council, but we just want to capture and have everything on the radar so that when we come out of the COVID period, we have a roadmap as to where we're headed.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to approve the recommendation. Did someone make it? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. You're right, thank you, Councillor Carrier. So moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo. If there's no further discussion, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous, thank you. So we're gonna go back to the planning, item 7.1. Alex Hurlovich, our Director of Planning, he has switched from his computer to his iPad. So we're going to give this another shot. Hopefully this works a little bit better. And Mr. Hurlovich, can you please explain, because we didn't catch any of it, the reason and for the purpose and the reason for the proposed draft plan and bylaw amendment?
Okay, and I'm told I can't share my screen with you, although I might try that.
We see something. Yeah, oh, that's Bill doing it. So Bill's doing it from our end.
All right, okay, well, I'll close out of there. So anyway, so Bill has something on the screen which basically is showing that we're dealing with the former St. Thomas More School on the east side of Dorchester Road, extending through to Carleton. This is an application for a rezoning from institutional to R1C and to R3, and for a plan of subdivision for 18 lots for detached dwellings and 12 parcels for street townhouses on Carleton. So this slide, I'm not sure whether it's the second slide showing that there's a blue parcel, that's the land that we're dealing with. On the north is the hydro corridor. To the east and south, or west and south, are detached dwellings. And to the east of Carleton is a municipal park. The proposal is, as I said on the next screen, to extend the cul-de-sac, extend Thomas More Drive into a cul-de-sac, a distance of approximately 345 feet from where it terminates now, for 18 lots for detached dwellings. Those lands would be zoned R1C. There are no special provisions. They would be developed in accordance with the zoning requirements. The lands to the east of that is a block for street townhouses. There would be 12 street townhouses, and those would be zoned R3. The background to this is that the school has been sold, is now held privately. In fact, there is a private school, and the applicant has also asked as an interim measure to be allowed to operate that private school until such a time as the school is demolished at a later date. The development would be phased. They'd proceed with the townhouses first on Carleton and the subdivision of the former school property at a later date. We did have an open house last year, and that it was attended by 8 neighbors. They were concerned about additional traffic that would be generated, although that traffic would flow directly onto Dorchester Road, which is an arterial road with capacity to handle the additional vehicles. The residents also expressed concerns about drainage. This development would be subject to municipal sewer and water facilities, so there would be a new storm sewer extended east from Dorchester to service this development. There would be a drainage swale behind the houses, and normally those would be connected to rear yard catch basins. That would all be part of the plan of subdivision and would be subject to presentation to council at a later date. In terms of the development itself, we found that the proposal does comply with the provincial policy statements and the place to grow plan. With respect to the official plan, the lands are designated residential. The density in the official plan is required to be between 20 and 40 units per hectare. This development is actually slightly lower than that at 17 units per hectare. But we felt that it was still a compatible form of development, even though it was slightly low of the target, and that it does provide a choice of housing types, having provided both singles and street townhouses. The zoning I mentioned already, they're intending to proceed with an R1C zone for the single detached dwellings. That's a street frontage of about 15 meters, or about 48 feet, so actually larger than some of our new developing areas. The street townhouses are to be zoned R3, which would develop in accordance with those provisions. The region has requested a hold provision, which would be necessary for an archaeological study to be conducted and for an environmental site assessment, because it would be changing from a school to residential. It's considered a move to a more sensitive land use, and therefore the environmental site assessment is required. As well, staff has no concerns with respect to using the existing school for a private school as an interim use. The plan of subdivision does match the city's requirements. The street is a little longer than we typically like without a second means of access, although the city council took out the requirement that streets be with only one access be 150 meters or less. So we are seeing some longer streets. As I said, this one really approaches that final limit. The Hydro 1 has expressed some concerns about needing conditions for grading and fencing and warning clauses next to their hydro corridor, which abuts lots on the north side. We have conditions with respect to grading and servicing plans, the planting of trees and fencing. Those are all standard conditions. There are conditions with respect to the archaeological study, warning clauses in the appendix to the report. So we have found that the proposal does comply with the provincial and regional policies, complies with the city's official plan. Proposed zoning is appropriate regulations, and the addition of private school is an appropriate and acceptable interim use. Therefore, the recommendation is that the zoning amendment be approved, subject to the holding provisions I outlined, that the plan of subdivision be draft approved, subject to conditions in the report, that the mayor is designated be authorized to sign the draft plan, and that the draft approval be given for a period of 3 years, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the subdivision agreement and any required documents to facilitate the future registration of the plan of subdivision. Those are the highlights of the application.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurlovich. Do we have any questions of council for Mr. Hurlovich? Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Mr. Hurlovich, there were a couple of the residents' concerns that I didn't hear addressed in the report. There's a time capsule at the school. What will be done with that?
Mr. Hurlovich, did you hear the question about the time capsule in the school?
Yes, I do. So, Mr. Mayor, the school is private property. It belongs to somebody. I don't have any more control over the time capsule there than anything that might be on Councillor Lococo's property. They own the building. I know nothing of the time capsule, but I do recall reading the concern of the resident.
Okay, thank you. Couple more questions. There was a question regarding the pathway between the subdivisions that kids walk from one school to another. Obviously, that will be closed down.
That's correct. So the people on Dunn Street, or the children on Dunn Street, will have to walk up Carlton to the school on Carlton. If there are new families that move into the detached dwellings and there are children going to school, they would walk west on the extension of St. Thomas More, north on Dorchester, and across the Hydro Corridor, or they could go south to Dunn Street, north on Carlton to the school. But there is no provision for a walkway to connect across the Hydro Corridor.
Okay, thank you. And last question, it was regarding traffic entering and exiting into the church lot. Will that be blocked off as well?
Well, there's no street connection or driveway connection between the proposed subdivision and the parking lot for the church, so I have no idea how someone could drive between the subdivision and the church parking lot. So I didn't totally understand the concern when it was expressed, because there's no physical connection. So I don't understand the concern now.
Okay, thank you. And the last one is regarding all planning matters. We were talking about inclusionary zoning before, and I wonder where that report is, the progress of that, because this might have been a good option to look at for inclusionary zoning.
Did you hear that, Mr. Hurlovich?
Sure, council has the ability at any time to say that they want 5%, 10%, 90% of the lots to be made available for affordable housing. I'm not quite sure what the councillor is asking for now.
Through the mayor to Mr. Hurlovich, I thought we were waiting for a report about how we would address that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, I can bring a report back, but I'm not sure how it directly relates to the application in front of you.
I understand we can't do anything about that now, but I would like to see a report about inclusionary zoning for future.
Didn't Councillor Pietrangelo make that
Absolutely.
motion?
What was the report in regards to, Your Worship?
We have had that actually same motion several times. There was legislation to be introduced at the province. The province has never introduced that legislation. I shouldn't say they haven't. They've introduced it on a number of occasions. It's never been approved. But that doesn't mean that the city council can't proceed on its own. But I would put that in a report to you.
Thank you.
Councillor Pietrangelo, did you not make a motion before about identifying more property in the city for affordable housing to incentivize landlords? Did we have that? No, I know that, but I think that's what you, Councillor Lococo, is that what you're addressing, Councillor?
Through the mayor, no, what I was looking at was every time there's a new development of having a specific percentage to go towards
Oh,
affordable
I
housing,
see,
and it's
okay.
called inclusionary zoning, and I thought we were getting a report back on that. So I would like to see a report.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so right now, yes, Councillor Carrio.
Just on that, when that report comes up, I'm assuming that we'll invite the developers and the builders in to make their comments, because the last thing we want to do is start dictating to them and find out that we have no housing in Niagara Falls, that they go somewhere else where they are not told exactly what to do.
Definitely want them at the table, part of the conversation. Yeah, good point. Councillor Thompson.
Yes, I like the project. I was out there today walking around and looking at the development and reading the report. I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention, because the next application, we also have the same thing regarding the sprinkling of the dwellings. And we've made a decision on the last ones not to permit that. And I wanted to make sure everybody was aware that this one is, and the next one, both have sprinkler in there. And I have to go back to my comments at the last meeting, saying that the smoke detectors save lives, sprinklers save people. And there was also comments from the chief indicating that this would save money on their insurance. I talked to Councillor Carrio about that today, and he said he checked with the insurance, and they did not agree with that. And also, Councillor Carrio said, I've never had a fire in my hotels. I have sprinkler systems, and it's cost me over $100,000 in damages. And I think that sends a message. So if I'm going to support this application, I'm not going to support the sprinkling of this one or the next one.
Okay.
And I think we have to deal with this issue and have a full report, what everybody else is doing in the province, what the province has to say with respect to this, and have a public meeting with all the developers and people who would be affected, and make a definitive decision with respect with what we're going to do with this in the future. I'm not happy with having this coming up each time and not really having all the factual information to make the right decision. So I'd like to see that coming to us in the future, but I wanted to make sure everybody knew that what we were dealing with sprinklers on this application and the next one.
Okay, thank you for that. I've got Councillor Dabrowski, and did I see Councillor Carrio as well? Yep.
Through the mayor. Alex, this might be a question for you or maybe for Serge Felicetti, but Pathways Academy that sits on that current property, I know it eventually will be phased out. Has the city reached out, or has the developer that you know of reached out to the school to work on a potential relocation strategy for that school? I'm just worried about the families that have 4-year-olds or 5-year-olds in that school that are looking to keep their children in that school for the next 5 or 6 years but won't be able to.
I don't know of the relocation plans, but the developer was fairly adamant that they be allowed to have listed as a use a private school. We suggested that it would be sufficient to be a legal non-conforming use and to be allowed to continue. They were looking for more reassurance, so that suggests to me that they're looking term to keep that school operating within the current building. but I don't know what their long-term plans are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kerrio.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. I didn't know when we were going to discuss these conditions, whether it was now or at the end, so you want to wait till the end, or you want me to?
Well, it's on the floor now, so
Okay.
I think it's going to be probably, I'm guessing, removed from if we approve this, then that might not be part of it. I think it was condition 14 on the first one and condition 18 on the second public matter.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly understand, the chief's concerns with whatever the fire department puts forward, but it is a controversial issue. And when I speak to, and I do get a lot of calls from the builders, as have many friends that are builders in the area and developers in the area, and they're very concerned that if you want to start to add $10,000 to the cost of a house, you start putting them in sprinklers. And I did read the chief's report, which doesn't agree with that price, but I spoke to two of the largest builders in our area, and they said in this area, you're going to be looking at approximately $10,000, maybe $8,000 to $10,000 an additional cost to new homes. That's not the way to start out by putting forward things that are going to be affordable. That's just the start of it. As Councillor Thompson said, I've had a lot of experiences with sprinkler systems in a commercial setting, and on more than one occasion, it's cost me over $50,000 because someone's touched a sprinkler head or whatever and flooded part of the hotel, and I've ended up having to get to the point where the insurance companies don't even want to pay for damage any longer, getting difficult to get insurance companies not to exclude damage from sprinkler system malfunctions or whatever, frozen pipe that has the sprinkler system running all through your house if it's in the attic or whatever, and you get a pipe frozen, and it may not just be the sprinkler head. So in the report I read that the chief supplied us, it said, it could be just one sprinkler head. But if you have a frozen pipe in your attic and it bursts, it's going to flood your whole home. And you've put 80 or 90 pounds of pressure up into the top floor of your home. And if that goes off and no one happens to be around to shut the water off, it floods your whole home. So those type of things, Your Worship, are not going to eventually save the taxpayers or the home builders or the home buyers any money. The other thing is, beside the cost of the installation, the maintenance is ridiculous. We're spending between $5,000 and $10,000 a year on inspections and servicing for you don't just put it in and forget about it. And it has to be inspected, or it's like anything else. We have to have it inspected, like your smoke detectors, your carbon monoxide detectors. You can't just put it in there and forget about it. So you're going to have an ongoing cost to the homeowner. In the commercial case, it's between $5,000 and $10,000. I can't imagine you're going to get an inspection at a home that somebody's going to put their stamp on that's going to be less than $300 to $500 every year. So there's all kinds of things. Maybe if the council is not in favor of going down this route, we could have some other ideas put forward on the concerns that maybe fire has as far as getting to them or whatever, besides sprinklers. So I'm going to do what Councillor Thompson does and not vote for sprinklers in houses at this time, and hopefully we'll come up with something else. I'm sure, we've got along without them up till this time. I don't have a road or anything that goes to my house, so when there's a fire or whatever at my house, the firemen have to break my gate or whatever to get in, or drive over my driveway or whatever, grass, they're going to get in there. So anyway, I'm not going to support that part of the recommendation on either one of these two applications, but I'm looking forward to, if we have to do this in the future, like Councillor Thompson says, we have to have some input from the people that are affected. But I hope that we can just get away from this. It's not a popular thing to do. It hasn't been popular with our council. So maybe we got to come up with something else. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Do we have any other council questions? Councillor Strange.
And just to that point, Councillor Kerry, it's all these added things that the developers have to do now, the builders that are adding on. And basically you have to get that money back somehow. We're going to talk about affordable housing, and then you're adding on $20,000 to $30,000 per unit on some of these condos and townhouses. So to alleviate some of those costs, whether we think of a new way for fire safety, or they even talk about having these
Thank you for that, especially being a real estate agent. That's really helpful as well. Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we should be looking at safety as well. I do understand the affordability and the cost of the sprinklers, but I think we should look at safety. Is there any way that we can have a report from the chief that outlines what other municipalities are doing in general when there are challenges of getting to houses with short street accesses and that sort of thing? I know he quoted the company from the US, but what are other municipalities doing? I just don't want to say, let's don't do it because of money. I think safety should be first.
So why don't we ask the chief? Chief, you're on the call. Maybe you can weigh in on the sprinkler debate that we're having right now. What are they doing in other communities in this regard?
So, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council, it's kind of all over the map. Pelham, for an example, has it embedded into their, I believe, their engineering documents that if it's greater than 90 meters and there's only one way in or one-way access, then it has to be sprinklered. St. Catharines did the same thing with regards to a very specific area. So it all comes down to fire services is the only side of the emergency services that can comment during site plan and all of this time of the construction, where we're trying to get 2 ways in, 2 ways out for not only fire, for EMS and for police. So the way to resolve this whole sprinkler issue, quite frankly, is to give us 2 means of access to every subdivision, which, as you're well aware, may not be possible. Once that's not possible and there's no agreement by the builder to do that, then we have to default to our responsibility of fire, and that is by sprinkling the system. If I've given out a lot of literature to the council with regards to sprinklers. Sprinklers do save lives. If you refer to it in Vancouver, who's been doing it for several years now, they've had no deaths in homes. So that is to me, that's a very important item. That's my mandate, to save as many people as possible. As far as the conversations around commercial versus residential, it's a completely different system. We can put in dry systems to avoid the leaks. Obviously, in a commercial system with Councillor Carrio's business, I mean, there's people there that hang stuff on clothes, like clothes hangers and stuff onto the sprinklers, and obviously that's not going to happen in your own home. So the damage side of it is a lot less than in a commercial building. Something that we need to be dealing with to put forward the best benefits to the community in the city of Niagara Falls.
Councillor Carrio.
Yes, Your Worship, this to me is not a trade-off on money for safety. I'm all about doing everything we can do to make the home safer. But if I was going to invest $10,000 into the home, might want to make sure there's a much better smoke detector system, carbon monoxide detector system, maybe have 10 of them in the house rather than one sprinkler. The sprinklers go off strictly by heat. The only way a sprinkler goes off is by heat. By the time the heat gets to the ceiling, and the chief will comment on this, I'm sure, I think I'd be dead, because the smoke is going to kill me before it's hot enough for my sprinkler to go off if I don't hear my smoke detector. I think that's how they work in the hotel. I'm assuming that's how they still work in residential. They're heat, not smoke. So it has to be hot enough on the ceiling or wherever they are to trigger the sprinklers. By that time, the house is full of smoke, usually, and I don't think you've got a chance. So I don't know. And the other thing about the no deaths in Vancouver, this is a lot like the 5G discussion, where you hear that one side, tell us how many homes have sprinklers. They only say that there hasn't been any deaths. Well, there might only be 3 homes that have sprinklers, 500,000 that don't. So obviously in those numbers, you're going to have a lot more people that are killed that don't have sprinkler systems. So they don't give you all the facts. So I don't know if that is relevant or not, unless I knew how many homes were sprinklered, how many were not, and then I saw those numbers.
Chief?
Mr. Mayor, the only one comment is with regards to So the smoke and CO alarms, I mean, those can be turned off by the residents. They're found numerous times that they're not functioning properly. The batteries have been taken out because somebody has been burning supper or whatever, or it goes off once in a while. So with sprinklers, you obviously can't turn them off unless you turn the water off to your house. So all the research that we've been doing in fire services across Canada, the move is to sprinkler everything. We'd like to sprinkler every home and residence in the entire community if we could. But right now, the only says that we can request is to councils to bring it to the attention when we have limited access. Because if I'm living at the end of that cul-de-sac at 98 or 110 meters, 150 meters, it doesn't matter. If there is any way of blocking us from getting in, I can't guarantee you any rescue or fire protection to that resident. And that's the concern that I have as the chief.
Thank you for that, Chief. Do we have any other questions, or did you say, Mr. Clerk?
Yeah,
Councillor Ioannoni.
Sorry about that. Questions. One, Councillor Strange spoke. We didn't hear anything. We couldn't hear him at all. So
Yeah, they said your
I don't know
microphone
what
might
he
not
said.
be working.
So I can't tell if
So
it's
it's
on
not
or...
working. You might have to use that next one there when you're talking.
Now it's working.
Oh,
Now I can hear him.
Now it's working. Don't touch it. No.
You hear me now?
Yeah, he just,
Can you hear me now?
I heard him. I heard him
no.
respond
Put
to
it
you,
back.
but we didn't hear him speak at all. But I'd like to go back to the chief. Councillor Cario asked a question in regards to he would die before the sprinklers went off because they're heat activated. Is that how they work? Because I remember once upon a time when we were arguing height of hotels, and residents didn't want them so high, and people argued that they were unsafe, and fire service could not fight fires in 60-story buildings. We were told you don't fight fires from outside, you fight fires from within with the sprinkler systems. So is that the case, that they're heat activated?
Mr. Mayor, through you to the
Yes,
councillor,
Chief?
yes, they are heat activated.
So if their smoke alarm wasn't working, Councillor Cario's scenario is correct.
Potentially, yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Just thinking here for a minute, Chief. We're all interested in fire safety and for the best idea for our residents. I'm wondering, you said that, people don't maintain their smoke detectors, and they don't take the batteries out and whatever. Could we consider another way of doing this, which would cost more money, but making sure that all of the smoke detectors were electrically installed in the house? Would that be done? I have that in my place. I don't have to put batteries in. And if you got a rental where people don't look after things, and neither does the owner, you have problems with the smoke detectors. If they're electrically installed, is that another solution?
Mr. Mayor, through you to the councillor. Unfortunately, no, because if the electricity or the power goes out, then the electrical system won't work unless it's battery backup. And we've found throughout the city in numerous occasions where they take the battery out of the battery style and they literally unplug the electrical hardwire out so that it doesn't work. The only way we could ensure that there was a smoke or a CO alarm that's functioning properly is if every house was alarmed. And then that's going to get into too much money, because if they were to actually unplug one of them, the system into an alarm, and we'd be alerted. But as long as everybody that lives within the building has the ability to unplug the smoke alarm or disconnect the battery or disconnect the power, then we've got no control over what they do. That's what leads to our deaths, or injury, because every fire that we go to, in the last while with regards to fire injuries and fire deaths is because usually because of no working smoke and CO alarms. And I think if you revert back to the Thorold case where this young child is fighting for their life right now, had passed away. Again, there was no working smoke alarm and it was disconnected by the people that were in there potentially. So that's what we're trying to stop. We do know that sprinklers save lives in combination with smoke alarms and CO.
Well, I think he answers my question. If it's electrically installed, it's there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Do we have hardwired, right? Councillor Carrio.
Well, Your Worship, I'd like to spend more time on making sure everybody has a working smoke detector than I'd like to spend too much time on sprinklers. As what the chief said certainly scares me, that someone would disconnect their smoke detector. I don't know how we get on top of that, but I personally would spend whatever amount of time we could trying to remedy that problem before I'd worry about the other one. Because it's, to me, someone who disconnects a smoke detector in their home and their kids are not protected, that just scares the heck out of me. So whatever we could do to solve that problem, I gladly throw money at and people and whatever to make sure that that's covered, because that's number one in my mind. And I'm sure the chief would say if he had to pick one or the other, it would make sure, he would say, make sure that all the smoke detectors are working and people are covered by that. But anyway.
Well, I remember before, Chief, when we were going door to door, canvassing neighborhoods, I remember we were in Chippewa trying to find out who never had smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors. What is the statistic here? What percentage actually have smoke and CO2 detectors?
So we're about 65 to 75% done our first go through the city with regards to the smoke alarm campaign. And it's in and around 20 to 25% of those that are not compliant. So we still have a very high risk of people still not having them either in, taken down, dead batteries removed, unplugged from the electrical system. So we're still at a very high rate. And unfortunately, we can't get to every house.
So 25% of the 65 to 75% don't have them.
Correct. Or will have them and they've been disabled in some way.
Wow. That's bad. I'm with you, Councillor Carey. I'd much rather us focus on smoke and HO. Yeah. Yeah. That's unbelievable. Or make them have to be wired in when you build them with battery backup, because your power can go out still. So to have lithium backup, to me, that is the way to go. Okay, is there any other questions? Yes, Mr. Councillor Iononi.
Do we have any subdivisions that have been approved with sprinklers in them? Like, do we have developers who are volunteering to sprinkle their new builds?
Mayor, through you, that is correct. Yes.
We do. What subdivisions are they?
Alex, can you help me off the top of my head?
Yeah, it's Portage Road, the old Niagara Build-All site. There's a series of townhouses proposed for MB, and they have that condition applied to them.
Yeah, not volunteering though. Let's be clear. None of them volunteered. It was part of the conditions that they were allowed to build. Is that not right?
To you, Your Worship, they did not object, so I guess they voluntarily accepted it.
So if we're
Go ahead, Councillor.
looking at not supporting sprinklers, are we looking at putting something, thank you. Am I okay? So if we're looking at not doing sprinklers, are we looking at adding an addendum to Councillor Thompson's suggestion in regards to having them hardwired?
Yeah, that's in the code now. All new. Okay. We're told all new homes have to be hardwired.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Pietrangelo, you want change your mind? Any other questions or comments of Mr. Hurlovich? Okay, now So help me through here, IT and Mr. Clerk. We're looking for anyone other than the applicant. Is that what we're going to do now?
We could do that, although I did not receive any requests from the members of the public. We do have Candace Hood and John Corbett on standby. They are speaking on behalf of the applicant, if council has any questions for them.
Okay, so do we have anyone here that wishes to speak? I don't know where I'm looking. Am I looking? Are they phoning? Are they zooming? Okay. In a minute, I first have to hear if there's anyone else that wants to speak. I gotta.
Okay, so I'm informed by IT staff that Candace Hood, her microphone is unmuted. So if she does have anything to speak, now would be the time.
Okay. Ms. Hood, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to the recommendations for the application?
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor and the council. I just had a presentation. I'm not sure if you've received it or if it'd be on the screen.
Just maybe hang on one half a second. Ms. Hood, we're just going to check the volume here. We're having a hard time hearing you. Our IT are just going to try to turn the speaker up a little bit. Okay, did you want to try that again?
Yes. And now?
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, so Candace, would just ask that you turn your volume up on your end if possible. Our volume is up all the way. And if you do have a presentation, if you're aware on how to share that on your screen, you could do that as well.
Sure, yes, one moment, please. Is everyone able to see the screen?
Yes, we can see your screen, so please go ahead. Just speak as loud as possible, please.
All right, yes, thank you. So again, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. And thank you for considering the applications put forth today for the subject lands at 6642 St. Thomas More Drive. Most of this information has already been discussed, so I will try to go through the information quickly and hopefully it's more helpful. Okay, so on the agenda that I had planned, we were going to go through the existing site conditions, development proposal, any statistics, the planning policy structure, as well as the stormwater management. We were going to have Sergio Zaga from Stantec, our engineering consultant, so hopefully he'll be able to speak to that component in the presentation. I will then lead into the other study findings as well as our concluding thoughts.
Ms. Hood, I just want to jump
again,
in. Ms. Hood, can you hear me? I just was going to make a suggestion that we've been heavily through the report, and I just would maybe suggest you hit the high points. We're looking favorably at this. We don't have opposition, so I would just suggest maybe just give us an abbreviated version, maybe not too much detail.
Yeah, sure. So the existing site conditions.
What's that?
This is the actual draft plan of subdivision that was submitted to the city. So I believe we have not had a chance to review this yet.
Can I just ask you, Ms. Hood, councilors are asking, did you hear all of our comments during the public meeting?
I did, yes.
She did. Okay. All right. So continue on.
Sure. Again, this is the actual draft plan of subdivision itself. So this would be the main cul-de-sac that was the main discussion for the sprinkler system that will lead into the 18 single-family detached dwellings. I see there's a bit of a lag here, but it's showing up on my end. So I was just going to lead into that this will be a phased development. So phase 1 will be the 12 townhomes along Carlton Avenue that's being proposed. And then phase 2, once the existing school is demolished, it will into the 18 single-family detached dwellings. So I most of this again has been discussed. So I'll just go through and see. We can lead into Mr. Zaga's stormwater management coming up. So first and foremost, the background studies that were submitted for the subdivision required by the city was the functional servicing and stormwater management reports, the environmental site assessment, phase 1 and phase 2, the geotechnical investigation, and then the archaeological assessment, stage 1 and 2. So the next component would be for our engineering consultant to speak, and I'm unsure if IT is able to switch it over to Mr. Sergio Zaga from Stantec. I'll stand by.
Are you there, Sergio?
Hi, everybody. Sorry, just having a couple of technical difficulties with my computer. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Awesome, great. I'm hoping Candice can leave her servicing strategy very, very quickly. Starting off with our proposed servicing plan. I'm sure everybody has seen this. This has been included in our functional servicing report. And as mentioned before, we're connected to existing municipal infrastructure on Dorchester Road and Carlton Ave. Candice, we can go on to the next stage. So sanitary outlet for the site. In our discussions with the city, we were asked to show a net reduction of flows on Dorchester Road because of the flooding concerns within the area. So what we've done, sanitary calculations, we compared the flows from the current development with the calculated flows from the 18 single detached units that will be connecting to Dorchester Road. And there's a net reduction of 58% in flows, which will help alleviate some of the flooding concerns within Dorchester Road with the current sewer system. If you go next, stormwater management design, again, the site is split into 2 outlets. Currently, almost half of it discharges to Dorchester Road, and the other half discharges towards Carlton. Go next slide, Candice. And then again, really quickly, we're asked by the municipality to show that there's a reduction in the flows to Dorchester Road, and that we're matching flows to Carlton Street under the 5-year design storm event. And then we provide quality control measures in our design to clean up the sediment generated from the roadway before we release it back into the municipal system. So what we are proposing is overall, it's on stormwater management flows. Existing conditions, we have roughly half the site drained through Dorchester, which has a certain flow. The proposed conditions, we're taking that flow way down because we are controlling a lot of that on site. So we have a 97% reduction in storm flows to the Dorchester Road sewer, which is a really big improvement compared to current for Carlton Road, the city has dedicated sewer, and we're told that we can outlet at the same rates as before. But for Dorchester Road, we show a significant improvement, which should help with the concerns in the area. And overall, we're just showing that basically the development has a positive impact on the surrounding lands by reducing storm flows to 97%. And reducing the sanitary flows from the development by 58%. So overall, it's from an engineering perspective, has a positive impact on the current situation. And that's about it for the engineering perspective.
Okay, thank you, Sergio. So just a bit of more background in required background studies. So the environmental site assessment, phase 1 and phase 2, which were completed in November 25th, 2019. And the region has advised that a record of site condition is no longer required. As for the archaeological assessment, stage 1 and stage 2, which were completed in September 2019, the report concluded that no archaeological resources were encountered and that the study area is cleared of any archaeological concern and that the development activity may be permitted to proceed. And the submission has been submitted to the ministry in February 2020 this year. And the functional servicing and stormwater management report, Sergio just gave us a brief as to that report. And then as for the geotechnical investigation, it was determined that the native soils encountered at the borehole locations are considered capable of supporting the loads, which are typically associated with single-family dwellings on conventional spread footings. So in conclusion, on behalf of our client, we are in agreement with the staff recommendation on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision applications. The client has already commenced a resolution of several of the outstanding matters, including several of the draft plan conditions. And as we just discussed, one of them would be the archaeological assessment, which has been submitted to the ministry, as well as working with the consultant team to decommissioning of the boreholes, which we are currently undertaking, which is in accordance with the Ministry of Environment standards. And then we've also commenced correspondence with several agencies, including Hydro One, to address all the other conditions. So CLS believes that the project respects the existing character of the surrounding residential neighborhood. It improves the drainage conditions, as Sergio discussed, and it brings the existing private school into full conformance with the zoning bylaw. So we believe the project is appropriate and represents good planning. So CLS recommends council to consider the applications for approval. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair and council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hood. Do we have any questions for Ms. Hood? No? Yeah, I'm sorry, Councilor Carrio?
About the sprinklers, if they're
going to volunteer to
if
put
they're
them in?
not, objecting to any of the other conditions, I don't want to be the one to say, I'm only, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Ms. Hood, we just need some clarification on your position on the condition to install sprinklers. Did you have a position on item 14, condition 14?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have no particular issues with the sprinkler conditions at this time.
Okay. So are there any other questions? Yes, Councillor Dabrowski.
Through the mayor, and this might have been answered before and I just forgot or didn't hear it, but the pathway from the church parking lot into the, which will be in the future, the subdivision, what are your plans with that pathway?
Through the mayor, the pathway will be removed.
It will be removed.
To accommodate
Okay.
the.
And then, Ms. Hood, regarding Pathways Academy that's currently running, have you spoken to the owners or the folks that are running that school, what their plans will be once that school is demolished?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we are in contact with the owner, and we aren't sure how long the school intends on staying.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we are working with the owner of the school, and we are unsure on how long the school intends to remain operational.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Chief, did you, or no, who's got it? I see two hands. Councillor Iannoni.
Thank you. Did I understand her correctly that they do not have an objection to the condition that they put sprinklers in their homes? Because we just had a full discussion to not enforce that, and they don't have a problem with us doing so.
Yeah, well, I guess because council was brought, it was brought to our attention by a local solicitor at Sullivan Manny that it's not a requirement and that they're objecting because we've not allowed it to happen in other subdivisions. So we're under the understanding that they were objecting to this, and now we're hearing that they're not objecting. So, okay, that's fine.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Chief.
If you're talking about Rocky Vaca, he was objecting to the second report in front of you is not this one.
Not.
So if I could be so bold, suggest that if the builder and their clients are not objecting to the sprinklers, then I would ask that we keep that as a condition for this one.
Okay, that's fine. Fair enough. Councillor Ioannoni?
No, I would just agree with the chief. I realize now Councillor Thompson had segued into the next application when he was speaking. So if they don't have a problem with that and we can put something in that's safer, I would like to see us keep that in this application.
Okay, so if there's no further
So
questions.
if you want to close the meeting, I'd happily make.
So if there are no further questions or comments at this point, okay, let me just first, the public meeting with respect to the proposed draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment is now concluded. Motion by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Ioannoni, that we move the recommendations. Call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and it's approved. Okay, thank you, Ms. Hood. Okay, moving on, Mr. Clerk. Which one is this, the white one? Okay, we're now moving along to item 7.2. I'd ask the clerk, Mr. Mattson, to introduce the next item on the agenda.
A public meeting is now being convened to consider a proposed amendment to the city's zoning bylaw and draft plan of vacant land condominium to permit 29 vacant land units for future townhouse dwelling units at 6400 and 6420 Kaler Road. Notice was given by first-class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on February 21st, 2020, and by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passing of the draft plan of vacant land condominium and the zoning bylaw amendment to participate in a site plan process if applicable, or preserve their opportunity to appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal with regards to the zoning bylaw amendment only, shall give notice to the city clerk immediately after today's public meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'd now ask our Director of Planning, Mr. Hurlovich, to explain the purpose and the reason for the proposed draft plan and zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Your Worship. The application before you this afternoon is for a property 1.9 acres in size on the east side of Kaler Road. It backs onto Gus Monroe Park. To the north and south of this property are single detached dwellings. Across the street are detached dwellings. There's a townhouse development to the northwest of this particular site on the west side of Kaler Road. The application itself is to rezone the property and to get draft approval for a plan of condominium. If we could look at the next slide. They are also asking, so they're requesting a change of zoning from R2 to an R4 zone, and they would like to have a reduced lot frontage. Instead of having 6 meters as a standard requirement for a front yard in a R4 zone, they're seeking a front yard depth of 4.5 meters. In this case, it's actually the exterior side yard of the dwelling rather than the front yard of the dwelling in question. Actually, 2 dwellings, Unit 1 and Unit 29. As well, they're seeking to amend the maximum lot coverage. Maximum lot coverage in an R4 zone is 35%, and they would have a lot coverage of 36%. And then on the block of townhouses on the far right or east of this property, rather than providing an interior side yard of 4 meters, they're proposing an interior side yard of 3 meters. I would point out that in an R1 zone, for instance, the side yard requirement is 1.2 meters as a standard requirement. So in fact, they're more than twice that standard. So the layout, if we go to the next slide, it's a little clearer because it's colored. So the layout is for a new driveway to extend east from Kaler Road. There would be individual driveways and garages for each of the 29 proposed townhouse units. As well, there is visitor parking provided at the end. The street actually forms a T intersection, or T at the far extreme. That provides the driveway to each of the garages garages. Anyway, for the townhouse units and additional parking. Thank you. And there was an inquiry from one of the residents in the area, and I think decided to focus on asking about garbage collection. So those, when you look at the far right of the screen, you can see there's two green curved areas that lead to that visitor parking. And if those radius meet the region's requirements, the regional garbage collection service would enter the site, pick up the garbage in front of each unit, enter into that visitor parking area, and they can back up within that area and then exit onto Kaler Road in a forward-facing direction. If those radiuses aren't, or radii aren't large enough to meet the region's requirements, then the garbage would have to be done by private pickup. But at this point, we believe the radius can be increased in size to meet the region's requirements. That would happen at the site plan stage. But I just wanted to point that out because that was a particular concern. There's also some concern about the existing trees on the site. So any of the trees along the common lot line on the south are to be preserved. There are a couple of large trees in the middle of the backyards of the two existing dwellings on the property. Those unfortunately would have to be removed. There are proposals for some new tree plantings along the north property line next to the existing dwelling fronting on Kaler Road. We did hear from one of the residents in the area today, Mr. Kelleher, asking for additional trees along that property line to help buffer this new development from the parkland and help it blend in a little better. Again, we can deal with that during the site plan approval stage. So in the next slide, as I mentioned, we are moving from an R2 zone to an R4 zone with those site-specific changes. We did have 10 neighbors come out. They were expressing concern over the lot, that. They also were concerned about drainage impacts. This development would be served by a storm sewer that would flow east or west rather to Kaler Road and connect with the municipal storm sewer on Kaler Road. There would be swales at the backs of those residential, or at the backs of the townhouse dwellings, and those would be connected to rear yard catch basins. Again, that would all be part of the condominium plan as we move forward. There's reference to the conceptual landscape plan, which was the plan that was just on the previous screen. So moving to the next slide, we found that the proposal does comply with the provincial policy statements for a built-up area. The official plan designates the lands residential. The ideal density is somewhere between 20 and 40 units per hectare. This development actually has a density of 38 units per hectare, so fits right in towards the higher end of the development, but does meet our requirements. The townhouses will be says similar height and setbacks, although I would say most of the existing dwellings themselves that front onto Westwood Street are actually single-story houses, but in essence, the zoning would allow a similar height on those properties as on this property. The setbacks are very similar. In fact, I pointed out the 3-meter side yard that they're requesting for a block of townhouses actually provides a larger side yard than would otherwise be required for a detached dwelling or required under the existing R2 zone. So in the next slide, it's again just a repeat of the special provisions that they are looking for with regard to this R4 zone. The planning department is supportive of those. The exterior side yard widths are similar to the adjacent dwellings fronting onto Westwood Avenue. The side yard width reduction for units 2 and 28 that I mentioned is compatible. And again, here's where we point out that the standard for the R2 zone is 1.2 meters, and a 1% increase in lot coverage would be very minimal. So the plan of condominium for the 29 proposed townhouse units fronting onto a common road is acceptable. The privacy yards behind those dwellings, if we go to the next slide, is 7.5 meters. That's the same requirement that's in the current R2 zone or for any new detached dwelling in town. There are conditions in the report requiring that the grading and servicing plans demonstrate that the properties, the existing properties would not be adversely impacted, and there would be a requirement for fencing, plantings, and screening of adjacent properties. There are other conditions in the report that address servicing, parkland dedication, utilities, and other matters. So therefore, we are recommending approval of that. Here's a depiction of what those townhouses would look like. The top is the rear yard as it would face the houses on Westwood, and the bottom elevation are the fronts of the townhouses as they would face onto the private internal road. So therefore, the next slide, the recommendation is that the zoning be approved as detailed in this report, that the vacant land condominium be draft approved, that the mayor or his designate be allowed to sign the draft plan approval, and that the draft approval be given a period of 3 years to be registered, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the condominium agreement. And those are the highlights of the application.
Thank you, Mr. Hurlovich. Do we have any questions of council for Mr. Hurlovich? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, do we have anybody that wants to make a submission other than the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we do have one resident. His name is Matt Clark, and I just ask that IT staff go ahead and unmute his microphone. Now, keep in mind that he was possibly on hold since 1:30, so I know he worked midnight shift last night. We'll see if he's still on the line.
Okay.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can. Is this Mr. Clerk?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. All right, this is the mayor, and you're live, so we're here to listen to your comments.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate time. Yeah, just I want to touch on something quick in regards to the sprinkler system that was just discussed in regards to the St. Thomas More Drive. That went on for about 20 minutes there, and it seemed like they building company had agreed to put that in. Is that something that is also going to be looked at in regards to this development on Kaler Road?
Well, it's one of the recommendations right now as part of the conditions, and then council's going to have that discussion now.
Okay, I understand. Just one more thing in regards to this development here. Just in regards to how dense of a residential neighborhood this already is. It's been established for over 40 years. I just don't see how it makes sense to squeeze another 30 units in such a small area. There's so much more property and land on the west end. It seems like we're kind of cramming this in and affecting the lives and privacy of them. I understand it's not a really huge amount of people, but in regards to the park and views and everything else, I just don't think it really makes sense. That's kind of just my view on it. I really don't have too much more to say on that. I kind of just wanted to be heard.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Clark. And I think, you know, as you heard from our Director of Planning, you know, he is recommending in favor based on good planning principles. And I know what you're saying, you get used to the character of the neighborhood, but this is the direction the province has given us in the Places to Grow Act, that there's more infilling taking place. And ultimately, the recommendation from our planner carries a lot of impact on moving forward with these types of developments, whether they happen or they don't happen. But we do appreciate your comments. They are noted on the record, and we appreciate you being patient to wait this long to speak with us, especially considering you were working midnights. We appreciate your patience.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, is there anyone else, Mr. Clerk?
That is the only member of the public that had asked to speak. We do have Peter Colosimo and Rocky Vaca on the line, as well as representatives of the applicant.
Okay, and maybe I'll just read, just for the sake of making sure that we follow along with our procedure, and remind people that members of the public are advised that failure to make an oral or written submission at this public meeting will result in the local planning appeal tribunal dismissing any referral it receives. Failure to sign the sign-in sheet will result in staff rejecting an appeal as per Section 3419 of the Planning Act. We've now heard from anyone other than the applicant who wished to speak to council. Council is now going to hear from Mr. Colosimo and Mr. Vaca. If you've got any brief comments, we've heard the report, we understand it, and maybe if you just want to weigh in on any high points or any specific points, we'd appreciate it. So I guess, Mr. Colosimo, we'll go to you first.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me?
We hear you fine.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the time. I just want to basically thank planning staff for the favorable recommendation. We certainly agree. Alex has gone over the neighborhood issues, and we've addressed those through our planning justification report with the submission. We submitted plans for landscaping, building elevations, didn't hear back from residents since those were submitted in December. And we believe that the zoning bylaw is being presented and recommended for approval, and most of the conditions of draft approval, they will all address resident issues, ensure this development is compatible and meets a lot of the city's objectives, particularly in terms of infill intensification, where you can have more efficient use of both urban land and as well municipal services that are already in place out there. The only issues that we raised is with respect to two of the conditions of draft approval for the condominium. These were not issues raised by residents. They were issues that staff had put in as conditions that we have concerns with. One is with respect to condition number 7, which requests a sidewalk on the private driveway within the condominium plan. Our concern there is similar to the sprinkler system issue, which is our other issue, is that the city doesn't have council-approved policies that we're aware of for either one of these matters. That's really critical to have that buy-in from the developer and building community in Niagara, as well for council to approve a policy that's well-known and documented with urban design pros with these things. So for sidewalks and private roads, we aren't aware of any developments such as this that on a private road where sidewalks have been approved. I know I sit on committee of adjustment. There's the Legends townhouses, the townhouses on Portage, even a condo townhouse development just on Forest View and Kaler, just across the street. There aren't sidewalks on these private roads. So we're asking for that same privilege here. And part of the challenge is that there isn't a policy that we're aware of that provides this direction, nor we're aware of it through pre-consultation. I should point out that if sidewalks were provided, that would interfere with the individual driveways. You'll note when the site plan was there, I believe there's, look on even page 8 of your report, you'll notice the driveways. If you put a sidewalk, and we don't know where staff wants it, both sides, one side, but a 4-foot sidewalk is going to interfere with the driveways and parking and wouldn't create a safe situation. So in my opinion, the current configuration of the private road, driveways and so on is consistent with other developments approved in the city. And we would like that particular condition revised to take out the wording for the provision of internal sidewalks. With respect to the sprinkler systems, I know you had a long discussion. I should point out this is all related to fire department's need, if you will, that they believe for a secondary access. And there's no formal legislation for this or council approved policy. Important to get that direction, which would be great in the future, both for that, for sidewalks and other development criteria, so the industry knows about these things and have support, and as well council would be well versed in it. With the sprinkler system issue, I should just mention the road here, the private road, is for the first 2 blocks, most of the units comply. That's 90 meters to the second block of units. It's only about the last 7 units that back on to Monroe Park. That would be the block is beyond 90 meters. So certainly, even if the city has a formal requirement in the future, I hope they don't say all units must have sprinklers, because almost all the units comply with that provision. The private road will be designated as a fire route by the city with signage post property. Fire has asked for that. We conform with that. I'm certainly willing to do that. That's important. That ensures that there's no obstructions from visitor parking or contractors or anything. This will be reinforced through the condominium corporation's bylaws, which is stronger than most subdivisions for that matter, because those are the rules that the occupants have to abide by. So that being said, this development will certainly ensure that there'll be proper safety for fire purposes, including a hydrant we have to put on site and the fire route. And for sidewalks, again, that'll be covered off through the bylaw, and it's typical for any condominium development that I'm aware of, similar to this in the city. So that being said, Mr. Vaca may expand on the sprinkler system issues, but we would respectfully request in the end that the conditions related to sidewalks and sprinkler systems be, and I can certainly answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Colosimo? Okay. Yes, Councillor Campbell.
Just a quick question. Is parking going to be allowed on the street?
Did you hear that, Mr. Colosimo?
No. No, parking will not be allowed on, I don't know the current Kaler, I don't believe there's parking permitted at all right now, but on the private road, no, there will not be parking permitted. We have a visitor parking area towards the rear. All units will have a single car garage as a minimum and a parking space in front.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Colosimo? Okay, seeing none, I guess we'll hear from Mr. Vaca. Rocky, are you there? Is he scheduled to speak, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Vaca's mic is unmuted. I'm told he just needs to speak up. I can't imagine a solicitor who doesn't want an opportunity to speak.
Sometimes, Rocky, you have to, with Zoom, go back a screen and there's another mute option, the screen before. I don't know if you're able to back up a screen. Sometimes it's not the home screen you're muted on, it's the one before. I've been in that situation. You might want to just double check that if you can hear me. Do we have a plan B, Mr. Clerk, that he can phone in?
We'll work on that. Apparently everything's kosher on our end, so we're looking at possible technical issues on his end. We'll see if we could get a phone number from him provided to us.
Okay. I wonder if we could just call his cell phone, if that wouldn't be the easiest. Do we have his cell phone, Mr. Clerk? Okay. I don't know. We can't get him to respond. Yeah, I think Bill, you In your text, it's in your text. We don't know where he is. Okay, by the microphone, okay. The clerk has it. Yeah, he's just, I'm gonna try this. So Rocky, if you're listening, answer your cell, please.
Okay, Rocky, we've got you on speakerphone here in chambers.
Okay, sorry about that. I've been waiting to speak, but I guess you couldn't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Just if you could speak as loud as possible.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'll try to be brief. So the danger of being last to speak is that just about everything I wanted to say has been said. But I just want to make a couple of very quick points. First off, on the issue of the sidewalks, I agree with everything Mr. Colosimo said. I just want to add one further point, just because I dealt with this issue recently at another municipality. The driveway as currently designed is 6 meters long from the garage door to the edge of the road. If a sidewalk is imposed as a condition, that will take up roughly 1.2 meters, leaving 4.8 meters in the driveway. Just so you're aware, a Chevy Impala is 5.1 meters, a Honda Odyssey is 5.2 meters, a Honda Pilot is 5.2 meters, a Ford F-150 is nearly 6 meters. So if you start putting sidewalks in these types of developments, you're going to have probably half of the cars on the road that are going to be encroaching beyond the driveway into the sidewalks, which I think creates an even greater safety issue than the issue that's trying to be remedied by having sidewalks. Moving on to the fire sprinklers. I have prepared a lot of submissions, but all I really want to say is, and I've said this many times before you on other matters, when you're dealing with Planning Act applications, such as the one currently before you, you are the decision maker. And in making that decision, you have to be confident that you are complying with all applicable law at all levels of government. Furthermore, as a municipal council, as the leaders of municipal government, you are a creature of the province, and your decisions cannot overstep the jurisdiction of the province on provincial matters. Construction standards and fire safety and protection standards are the business of the province. They are not the business of municipalities. It's the province's jurisdiction. That is why we have the Ontario Building Code and the Ontario Fire Code that governs these matters, not the Niagara Falls Building Code or the Niagara Falls Fire Code. So when you're looking at condition number 18, notwithstanding the decision you just made on the prior application, which in my respectful submission runs contrary to applicable law, you have to ask yourself, is there a law that allows us to impose a condition that the condo units in this case must have a fire sprinkler? My legal opinion 8 years ago when I first addressed this is the same as the opinion I gave you 3 months ago when I addressed this for the Legends condo site. There is no law or regulation in Ontario requiring that these condo units have fire sprinklers in these circumstances. Your fire department is in agreement. If you look at Mr. Trendle's email that I forwarded to you. Quoting the email, in response to your questions, there is not a provincial statutory or regulatory requirement for sprinkling of buildings that has a single access. So with all due respect, that should be the end of the discussion on this issue. The problem is as you've just seen in the prior application, you are making inconsistent decisions based on whether or not a developer objects to this condition. What you should be looking at is this condition authorized by applicable law? The answer is clearly no. The only way it will be authorized by applicable law is by having a public discussion, inviting stakeholders, inviting the insurance industry, inviting the fire departments, the fire marshal's office, and coming to a decision after debate and consideration of all the issues. Now, I'm suggesting to you that that is something that only the province can do, not the city of Niagara Falls, because the province is the government that has jurisdiction over fire safety and fire protection. That's why the office is called the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office. So if there is intention to bring this forward, I again suggest that it's the province that these discussions have to take place at, not at a Niagara Falls City Council meeting. You're more than welcome to have a public meeting to get opinions from stakeholders, but at the end of the day, I don't think this is a law that you can pass, with all due respect. Lastly, I really dread having to make these submissions. I have the greatest of respect for your fire chief and the members of your fire department for what they do day in and day out. So I really wish that these conditions would no longer be requested and that someone would, with all due respect, finally listen to me when I say there's no law that allows this, and wait until the province does something about it. Those are my submissions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vaca. Do we have any questions for Mr. Vaca? Okay, we don't. We appreciate that. That was pretty succinct. So your two main concerns with this report were the internal sidewalks and the fire sprinkler systems. Is that right?
Yes, fire sprinkler system, condition 18, and the sidewalks being number 7. I believe Mr. Colosimo was asking that the words provision of a sidewalk connecting to the adjacent street be deleted from condition 7.
That's correct.
Okay. So does everybody, Mr. Hurlovich, are you clear with that suggestion of number 7 that council's considering with that change to provision 7?
Yes, I do think we need a policy, but as Mr. Vaca pointed out, if we were to put a sidewalk across the ends of those driveways, there would be insufficient room for a vehicle to park. And that's part of what we anticipate as parking spaces for the development.
Okay. Okay, so that makes sense then? Yes, Councillor Lococo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Mr. Hurlovich, is there a safety issue of not having the sidewalk there? Obviously, if there was enough room in the development and it went wider, you would have the sidewalk. Since there isn't, is there a safety issue?
Mr. Hurlovich?
We have a number of municipal streets that don't have sidewalks on either side as well. So I don't know, is that more of a safety issue or less of a safety issue? There are 29 townhouse units proposed in here. I'm going to suggest that it's going to form a fairly tight community in which they all watch out for each other. But that's my opinion as to how people might operate socially. And I would hope that that would override speeding and careful exiting of driveways should there be children or others walking on the street.
Okay, that answered your question. Okay. Any other questions of council? Okay, seeing none, the public meeting with respect to the proposed draft plan of vacant land condominium and zoning bylaw amendment is now concluded. Councillor Thompson and Councillor Carrio. Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, I would so move.
Okay.
At deletion of the 2 items, the sidewalk and the electric, or the sprinkler.
We can't hear Councillor Thompson.
Okay, so Councillor Thompson is, I don't know why there's an echo now, but Councillor Thompson is moving the recommendation with the two provisions. Number one, that condition number 7 be amended around the internal sidewalk connection, and condition number 18 be removed, the fire sprinkler system requirement. Is that right, Councillor Thompson? Yes. And that is seconded by Councillor Carrio. Does anyone else have any comments to the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, folks, for all your help with the conflict from Councillor Pietrangelo. Thank you for everyone for your help on that planning matter. So now we're going to go back to reports, and I believe we're now down, is it 8.2 now, Mr. Clerk? Okay. So item 8.2, there's a memorandum of understanding for the provision of technical rescue services for the town of Niagara Lake with the assistance of our fire department. That's moved by Councillor Pietrangelo and seconded by Councillor Dabrowski. If there's no questions or comments, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 8.3, Pin Oak Drive and Canadian Drive Tender Award. And of course, for those of you that should be aware, that is the roadway into the new Costco by Rankin Construction. Yes, a former employee here in our Public Works Department. Motion by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Strange. If there's no discussion, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? That's approved. Thank you. Item 8.4, there's a proposed communication tower on Thorold Town Line Road. There's a recommendation of staff that the City of Niagara Falls does not object, and of course, we're just a commenting agency. We don't allow or disallow these towers. So Councillor Campbell, motion, second by Councillor Carrio. All those in favor? And that's approved. Thank you. Item 8.5, there's a recommendation. The council pass a bylaw that would remove the holding symbol on the land on, where are we here? Specifically on Montrose Road. Thank you very much. Motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Thompson. Yes, and just before we vote, Mr. Clerk.
So on this item, Director of Planning Alex Hurlovich is prepared to make a presentation. We do also have Victoria Lucas and Frank DeLuca on hold as well, if council has any questions for them on this matter. It is not a public meeting.
Okay, so if we needed them, but we're already in support, looks like this is going to go in that direction. So we've already got, did we already make the motion? I'm sorry. You made the motion, Councillor Pietrangelo? Yeah, Councillor Thompson made the second. So we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you for that. Item 8.6, there's a summer aquatics update. Now, this comes from our Recreation and Culture Department regarding our pools. There are 4 recommendations. Of course, it's speculative depending on what the province delivers to us, but it's a plan right now for what we might potentially do depending on what might potentially happen from the province.
It's just for information now, and I would move with the report, and I think we're going to have enough.
You can turn your microphone on.
Oh, your microphone's up. I'm sorry, did you want to say that again, Councillor?
Yes, I would receive and file, and we're probably going to have more information depending on the pandemic. So I would receive and file it.
Now, this here, I should point out, now this is a recommendation to open up 3 pools, right? No, it's not. And here's just what you should be aware of, depending on how this plays out. Now, and again, hindsight's going to be 2020 once we get there. So if the provincial order is lifted and they allow, and it turns out to be a hot summer, now the question is, with only 3 pools, are we going to have more congestion? That's the question, right? And now, again, we don't know that looking forward. So this is the only thing you need to know, because staff are trying to plan, and then they're suggesting, depending on the timing, everything matters on everything. But this main thing here is they're only suggesting 3 of the 5 pools.
Yeah, that's why I said we're going to have more information depending on what the province does with the pandemic.
So then maybe, how do we, Mr. CAO, how do we receive this in a way that I know we don't know what we're going to get?
Well, Ms. Moldenhauer may want to speak to it too, but there's a couple pieces here that we really do need to get council's backing on. One would be, regardless if pool's open or not, we're not anticipating doing any swimming lessons for the year.
Right.
I think that's one item, Ms.
Yeah, that's
Moldenhauer.
part
So
would
it's
be
item
looking for.
2. Yep.
And, you know, we're just trying to put, the province, just as this afternoon, has extended the emergency, provincial emergency till June 1st, or June 2nd. So we're into June 2nd already, Mr. Mayor. We have another meeting in June, but, you know, the staff here is trying to look for some direction because it is a moving target, but definitely council backing today on at least the fact that we're not going to provide swimming lessons. I guess we could continue to monitor it and be back to you if you don't want to approve this, but.
No, I approve the report.
Well, here's what the suggestion may be saying, recommendation 2, 3, and 4, that'll cover swimming lessons, that'll cover, if it's not till August, and that'll cover the splash pads.
Yeah.
You know, at least that covers those 3, and then we'll know more next meeting in June, whether we're going to do anything more. Did you want to comment, Councillor Pietrangelo?
Well, Your Worship, the only thing I wanted to say is, I mean, much like we're treating the parks in the sense that we're not really letting things go. We're keeping them to the point where should things come back on stream, then things like soccer and baseball are going to be back there out on our parks. I think we should be treating the pools the same way. I don't really feel comfortable passing a report saying that, you know, based on a certain date, we would open some pools and not others. I mean, I think we should be preparing as though we're going to open, and then the province is going to tell us whether or not the, the ban is lifted. So, I mean, I would rather proceed that they're going to be opened and being told by the province, no, you can open, as opposed to just saying, okay, we're only going to open a couple of our pools. That's my preference.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mr. Mayor, if I
yes.
Just further that, I think if council could consider approving 2, 3, and 4, with number 1, maybe Ms. Moldenhauer can get in on here. I think if we were back to you at the June 2nd meeting, I think we need a few weeks and more staff if we're going to open all the pools, but we need a few weeks to get pools open. I would think if we had a decision by June 2nd, we could probably get some of the pools open by July 1st. If we're going to try to get all of them open, it may require having more staff available to us to do that. But perhaps Ms. Moldenhauer could speak to that.
Yeah, Councillor Strange?
Sorry, is my mic on? Oh,
Yes.
Just if Kathy's going to comment, maybe she can comment about maybe what kind of different protocol we might be, or steps taken for safety when the pools do open. You know, a certain amount of kids or separation, or how that works in that sort of setting.
Yeah, it's a good point. So, Ms. Moldenhauer, did you want to comment on the questions you heard here, both on the opening schedule that you're hearing? Council doesn't want to commit to not opening pools at this point. And secondly, how are you going to do the distancing within the pools? Is there a plan coming forward for that as well?
Yes, it takes approximately 1 to 2 weeks to open each pool. So if we have enough staff, as Ken Tosh said, we will open all 5 during the month of June. It's an operating plan. Right now, we are working with our provincial organizations. And we need to open to have a safe environment. Recommendations are you would lower your capacity for your pool. You do have to increase your cleaning throughout the day. You may want to look at different entrance and exit points. Definitely no lessons and no other equipment in the pool, such as flutterboards, because again, you would have to sanitize it. So right now with pools, there is work we need to do, and we will keep working with our aquatic partners to prepare for opening on July 1st.
Okay, Councillor Lococo?
Councillor Iannone has had her hand up for a while.
Okay. Councillor Iannone?
Sorry about that. I thought it was a good report. My only concern was if we relegate it down to fewer pools, we're going to have a higher occupancy. That was my only concern. Like Councillor Pietrangelo, I agree. We have to either decide we're opening them or we're not. And everything we do is going to be determined by the province. We saw the emergency order be extended today. Now they're starting to talk about whether or not it's affecting children and how it's affecting kids. We don't even know where we're going to be in a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I don't have any problem passing your recommendations, but I would like to see it be the pools, as opposed to less pools creating greater people. Because in 90-degree weather, if you can swim in a pool and the province says you can take your kids, they're going to take them. They have been in the house with their kids for months now. So you can anticipate that the population at the pools is going to be high, I think, this summer. So I really like the safety measures you're taking. I would just say more, because we're a creature of the province, as Rocky said, we are going to follow them. I would have all the pools open rather than put everybody in a smaller number of pools. But I think it's a good report.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Coco, did you have a comment too? No. Okay.
So is the motion to approve 2, 3, 4?
Yeah, so Councillor Thompson's making the motion to approve 2, 3, and 4. Is that right, Councillor Thompson? And then seconded by Councillor Strange, I'm sorry, Mr. CAO?
No, and if what we'll do is on number 1, we'll be back on June 2nd, and Ms. Moldenhauer can have a plan in place for how we would go about opening all of the pools and what that would entail in terms of staffing and.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm sorry, was somebody saying something? She's good. Okay. So Ms. Moldenhauer, you've heard the motion then, or the direction? So
yeah.
Okay, so we're going to vote now on 2, 3, and 4, but with the idea that we don't support the idea of less pools because there'll be more concentration of people in closer proximities. At this point, too soon to make that call. We'll wait to hear more from the province. So we've got the motion moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Strange. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, item 8.7, the Niagara Falls Farmers Market opening plan.
Recommendation, Your Worship.
Motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Dabrowski, that we move the recommendation that it would open on June the 6th, 2020. All those in favor? And that's approved. And again, for anyone listening at home, it will open at the McBain Center in the parking lot temporarily as we build the new Farmers Market and Culture Center.
Consent agenda, Your Worship.
Okay, motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Carriot, that we move the consent agenda. Now, is there anything that we want to lift or discuss? I know there's a couple letters came in at the last minute. I know we've got I'm sorry?
Might be under communication.
Oh, that's communicate, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. So if there's nothing anyone wants to lift, yes, Councillor Dabrowski? Okay. We've got the second already, right? Okay, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. Thank you. So now we'll move down the agenda to, why am I not finding where communications? Oh, there we go, correspondence. Okay, so the first piece of correspondence is from the region. It shows the different motions and whatnot. So there's are we looking? There's no note here. Is this for
Nutrition Partners, Your Worship?
Pardon me?
Is it Niagara Nutrition Partners?
It's outlined. Is this the financial impacts? Mr. Clerk, I don't see a direction. Pardon me? Oh, hold on. I jumped ahead. I'm sorry. You were right. Thank you for that. Item 10.1, Niagara Nutrition Partners. Okay, motion by Councillor Carriot, second by Councillor Lococo, that we receive. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. Item 10.2, there is recognition for Wilma Morrison, letter from the Lundy's Lane Historical Society. Councillor Pietrangelo?
Yeah, Your Worship, I'd like to move the request, and I know that you mentioned a little bit about Wilma in your opening remarks today.
Just a little bit.
I know she also had received the Order of Ontario, and I mean, we all know that Drummondville is a place in our city where escaped slaves and their descendants found freedom under the protection of the law. For anyone that ever came in contact with Wilma, she basically dedicated her whole life making sure that not only did we not forget about it, but also that we celebrated it. The last time that I got to see her was at the Niagara Military Museum when we were celebrating Black History Month. She was there because she was instrumental in having the new exhibit that we have at the Niagara Falls Military Museum come to life, I guess. I think it's appropriate, Your Worship, that we refer the request over to staff, but also that we bring in some other people, maybe Jim Doherty and others from the Niagara Military Museum. Maybe there's someone from the Heritage Committee that wants to sit on there, or the Historical Society. I think it would be a very nice tribute to Wilma. She dedicated, like I said, her life to making sure that people understood the importance that Niagara Falls played. And so I think we should honor her in that way.
Also, the Niagara Falls History Museum, because AO, who works there for us, did a movie on her.
Okay.
And they won some international awards on that movie.
Great.
A few years ago, I was one of the stars in the movie, too, I should point out. All right, I had a cameo. It was no star. Okay, so we got a motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Thompson. You want to speak to a councillor?
I look forward to the opportunity tonight to say something about Wilma. I worked with her at the health department. She was a nurse, and for probably 15 to 20 years I worked with her on Kitchener Street every morning and knew her very well. And then when I came to City Hall, I did nothing but work with her with the Black history that she put her whole life to, saving the church on Peel Street in the city. And she was a dynamic woman, and I'm pleased to see she's being recognized. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, if there's no further comments, there's a motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Thompson, or Lococo, which was, I forget. Thompson, I'm sorry, that we refer this to staff to do further work so we can do an appropriate recognition for Wilma. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you for that. Item 10.3, there's a City of Welland resolution asking the other levels of government for financial assistance. Not sure the direction of Councillor Carrio.
Isn't it something that you and our group have been working on, most of the topics or most of the items? Similar things? Is there, I mean, maybe we should go along with it unless there's
Mr.
more or
CAO,
less.
did you want to weigh in?
Well, if I may, Mr. Mayor, you heard Ms. Clark's presentation, and at the regional level, all of the area municipalities are getting together and submitting all of their financial impacts as one submission, and I think that would probably deal with most of the things on here.
Just receive and file this?
Good.
Okay. Receive and file this one?
Okay, yep, motion by Councillor Carrio, second by Councillor Dabrowski, that we receive and file. All those in favor? Okay, thank you for that. 10.4, the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. Yep, giving us an update, moved by Councillor Carrio, second by Councillor Campbell, that we receive and file. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved, thank you. Item 10.5, Niagara Falls Public Library, update on activities, Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to let everyone know that although the building is physically closed, the library still has a lot of programming going on, either through their website or their Facebook and Twitter accounts. So please reach out to them. There's lots of online movies, programming. So they're really not closed, but there's lots of things still going on. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So we're looking for a motion to receive. Councillor Lococo, second by Councillor Pietrangelo. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. Thank you. Item 10.6, various correspondence from the region. So recommendation is that we receive and file. Moved by Councillor Dabrowski, second by Councillor Pietrangelo, that we receive and file. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 10.7, more Niagara Regional correspondence. Now there's a recommendation that council formally endorse motions that support the collaboration between all of Niagara communities and the Niagara region.
Support the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Strange. All those in favor? Okay, that's approved. Thank you. Now we've got a motion here from Fort Erie regarding the border crossings. Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to receive and file, but I would like to put a motion forward that we have the same motion.
Okay.
We are all concerned about COVID coming into the country, and I think it's very prudent of us to make the same motion.
Okay, so this one you're suggesting, so the motion here for council, there's a motion from the town of Fort Erie, and basically a whole bunch of whereas, but in the end, they say they're calling on the Prime Minister to limit cross-border traffic. They keep the restrictions in place until the U.S. catches up to Ontario with the success that they're having, and that the CBSA work with health and law enforcement issues to make sure anyone who does travel has full scrutiny, basically. So basically what they're saying is leave the borders the way they are until the U.S. catch up to what we're doing. That's what the call is at this point.
That's fine.
So your recommendation is to receive first, just to receive this. Okay, motion by Councillor Lococo, second by Councillor Strange that we just receive this. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. And did you want to make one, or did you want to put one together, a resolution, Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The exact same one with the wording, just put in Niagara Falls instead of Fort Erie.
Okay, so yes, Councillor.
Would we like to add that we think that the feds don't know what they're doing and that we know better and that we should just change their, would you like to add that to that? Or?
I don't think that's the idea. You could.
Just say.
I'm pretty pleased with what the feds are doing.
What's that?
I'm pretty pleased with
Yeah, me too. That's why I said I don't know. I want to be critical.
Well, it's a good discussion point, right? I mean, not to be, right, like how, because they're so far so good, right? And he's getting a lot of pressure, I'm sure, from the president, to do more, and he's not, and he's getting a lot of pressure to not do things with China, and he is.
Amendment to the motion, then?
I'm sorry?
Friendly amendment to the motion. I was joking with the other, but can I make a friendly amendment?
Yeah, well, you can propose it, sure, to the mover, sure.
Well, that we have input, that we get a chance to have input because we are a border community. So that we just have a chance to have some input on what and when they do, as opposed to telling them what to do.
Right. So maybe, do you think, is it a good idea that we bring something back here for the next meeting so we have time to digest it rather than making a resolution?
Don't bring the border too quickly.
That's the other thing. I don't think we're going to, not in the next 2 weeks, that's for sure. So, Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just hoping that the Prime Minister would understand that we are a border town and we don't want it open very quickly. That was more of what I was trying to get at. So with input or discussion, that's fine.
So maybe, do you want to do this then? Do you want to just send a real simple, because all these whereas and whatnot, just so you know, and I'm sure everyone knows, the Prime Minister doesn't look at any of these. His staff will summarize it for him really quickly and say, bang. And same with the Premier. They don't read resolutions. They get hundreds and hundreds of them every week. So maybe if we just said, we would love to be able to help you on border issues, if you want to call in a border town for input, something like that. I don't know, maybe it's a little less, telling them what to do, but saying we'd like to be a part. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Councillor Carrier.
Well, considering that the border communities will be impacted more than many of the other communities when the borders open, it just makes sense that we are consulted and that we have a chance to have some input. Maybe that would be nicer than to do the whereas and whereas,
Yeah.
we are going to be impacted more than many of the communities in the country when the borders open. Save and except maybe where there's an airport that lands in their community, it's kind of the same thing. They have a border inside the country. But because we're impacted more than some of the others, we'd like to have the opportunity to give our input and give our communities input as well to make sure they understand.
So do you want us to maybe script a letter that basically says that as a border town, we'd like to have input in any discussions?
We are probably affected more than many of the communities in the country because we are a border community. We do deal with the people coming right through our community, even if they're going somewhere else. So we'd like to have some input.
So I'm asking you, do you want us to put a letter together?
Sure,
like that?
just include those things, that's all.
I'm sorry, Councillor Iannoni. When you hold your hand like that, it's right in front of your face, so I can't see. I just see a hand.
I'm sorry, I have a newborn isolating with me, and the decibel sound coming from the back room is getting louder and louder. So I just wanted to be able to talk before I cannot unmute my mic anymore. I just wanted to say that I support their resolution. wouldn't have a problem being a border town if we were not attached to New York State. New York State is in such bad shape in regards to the COVID cases. They have more COVID cases than the entire US put together. I just have family who have relocated back to Lewiston, New York from New York City, and they have to go into intense therapy for the hellhole New York City was. My concern is, because we border New York State, I think our resolution has to be strong. So if it's a soft letter, I'm not going to support that. I understand Councillor Carrio talking about how we'll be impacted more impacted more financially, because tourism is our main economic drive, but we will be impacted more health-wise also, just because we're attached to New York State. So I'd like to see it a little bit more strongly worded than a soft tone letter for health-wise. I liked how we went through how we would put COVID conditions and we would put health and safety first, and I think we have to do that for the community as well as just city facilities. So I just think making it soft, considering where we are, is problematic. And I'm sorry about that. The dog is barking.
Okay, Councillor Carrio.
Just a comment, Your Worship. Yes, our community is going to be impacted with the border open or closed, but we would be impacted more, Your Worship, if we allowed the border to open and brought many people in from New York State that, like, they're not in the same situation we're in. And our businesses, when we open, is going to be mostly people from the GTA coming down to our area. And we'll do a lot better if they feel safer coming here than if they didn't feel safer coming here. So yes, we will be impacted financially by what happens with the border, but depending on when they open the border and what happens with the people that come over, we could be impacted more if they open the border than if they didn't open the border, because our business is going to be mostly from the people in Ontario coming down to Niagara that aren't going to go into the States and aren't going to go to Florida and aren't going to jump on a plane. So that's why I said give our input. With all of the resources we have and with all the people that are going to be affected, the residents, the businesses, be able to give our input as things are unfolding. We may want to keep the border closed longer than the rest of the country. We don't, and it may help us in our business case. So that's why I say I just want to have our input.
So yes, Mr. Clerk.
Councillor Ioannoni,
Yep.
I think I'll speak to that one.
Yeah, Councillor Ioannoni. Yep, go ahead, Councillor.
Well, I think then Councillor Carey and I are in agreement of that. I believe we're going to also market to and have mostly Canadian visitors, but I think those Canadian visitors are going to feel better coming here if they know that New York State visitors are also not coming here and able to vacation here. Like, I just want to make sure that we are strongly opposed to opening to the door to what is happening in New York State. And I don't mind going on record for that. You want to put it as asking for input, adding that we do not want to have to worry about opening our borders to making our residents sicker. I think we're on the same page. It's just semantics.
Okay. So, yes, Councillor Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could we add a whereas in the current resolution about having input?
You mean take the Fort Erie one?
Yes.
Well, I thought we were saying staff didn't support, our council didn't like, you felt it was too, just because I want to make sure we're going to get support or whatever we do. So just give me some feedback. Are you feeling it was a little too strong, like we're telling them? Yes, Councillor Dabrowski?
Well, you had mentioned that the whereas letters, there's an abundance of those coming through,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't be as effective. I think the friendly amendment was create not a soft letter, but a hard letter, outlining our concerns about being a border town and a community that's obviously affected tourist-wise. But I think the whereas, we threw that off the table. I'd rather see a letter. I think that's more impactful. It'd probably get read a little bit quicker than a whereas would maybe get lost in the shuffle. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, like maybe just a one paragraph. What if we said, being a border community, we're the first affected, the most affected, and we welcome the opportunity to be part of the discussion on borders, or something to that effect? Yes, Councillor Carrier.
Well, Your Worship, you had mentioned previously that you had spoken to the tourism minister.
Yeah.
And you were going to speak with the federal tourism minister.
I did last week.
You did?
Yeah.
And so you obviously have an ability to communicate with them. I think besides doing the letter, I think it would be better than the next time when you communicate with them, you communicate our feelings. And I think that'd be better to talk to them in person and say, hey, before you open the border, can we have some input? Because our community is going to be affected tremendously by this. So If you have the personal contact with them, it's even better than a letter.
Actually, I've got
They
another-
can't very well turn you off when you're talking to them, so.
I've got another call lined up with the, she might hang up, you never know. But I've got another call lined up with the federal tourism minister with our industry recovery task force.
Ask or you could suggest.
Yep. So we could do that. So maybe what if we make that our motion, that we ask that we be, that first of all, we support things the way they are. And that, like, you tell me, I need you guys, I almost need you to write it because I don't want to script it later and go, that's not what I had in mind. Councillor Dabrowski?
I think originally there was a motion on the floor. I'm just wondering if we have to let that one.
We didn't go for a second.
Oh, okay.
Yet, so there's no motion actually on the floor yet, officially. So, help me craft this, folks, because we're spending the last 20 minutes on this simple issue. Yes, Councillor Coco.
I understand the desire to say that we want input, but I do want it to be worded that we are concerned and why we're concerned. I feel that that should be in it, whether that's in a resolution with a bunch of whereases or if it's in a letter, a soft, a hard letter. I do think it needs to be in a letter and not just in a conversation. You're welcome to have that conversation, but I still think we need something in writing to pass on to the government.
Okay, Councillor Dabrowski.
So what if I make a motion that we send a formal letter with council input, whether it's Councillor Carrio or Councillor Ioannoni? We can offer you suggestions over the course of the next few days on what we think should be included in that letter. Obviously, you guys vet it, and then we send it through.
Well, we can do that, or you know what I'm suggesting? We probably got a few minutes left in this meeting. Why don't you jot together some ideas and then just make a letter, like the basics, just a paragraph, couple sentences, and then this way,
Mr. Mayor?
Tell us what you want. Yes, Councillor.
I think Councillor Carrio just made, in 3 sentences, he wrote the whole, to be impacted both health-wise and economically. Like, that's the crux of your whole letter.
But I thought I repeated it. Nobody said anything. Every time I repeated.
No, it's very hard to get attention here and know when to jump in. But I thought the last time Councillor Carrio spoke, he pretty much wrote the letter, and it's exactly what we want them to know. We are going to be impacted both health-wise and economically harder than other communities. And so, please give us, and add a couple of the whereas, but as long, I think that covers the whole thing. He pretty much wrote it if you can go back and look at the video.
Do you remember what you said?
Absolutely.
So why don't you dictate it, and our clerk's gonna review the video.
Isn't he taking minutes?
Should be on the video.
He is. Yes, Councillor DeBoer.
If we can make that motion and just maybe have the clerk go to the archival video, just so we're not doing it now and wasting our time on this topic. But if I can, I'll make that motion if we can draft the letter, send it directly, utilizing Councillor Carrio's notes from his previous speech.
And you want it sent to the Prime Minister and the Minister of Tourism, the Federal Minister of Tourism?
And CC to any other stakeholders.
And our
correct?
MPPs, right? Like, Niagara MPPs. Okay.
MPs or MPPs?
What's that?
MPs.
And Trump, yeah, we'll send it to Trump too. So, so is somebody, do you want to make the motion? Okay, so that's moved by Councillor Lococo, second by
Also
Councillor.
move.
Pardon? What'd she say?
She said she so moved.
Okay, well, we already got a motion by Councillor Coco, who started the conversation, Councillor Carrio. So we will call the vote then. All those in favor? All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. All right. Whew. Okay, item 10.9, Town of Lincoln Resolution. Bottom line is, they're just suggesting that the town supports FCM and LUMCO and calling for support municipalities. And they're asking the Federal Minister of Finance, Minister of Municipal Affairs, Housing. I mean, it's more repetition, right? Everyone's
We're getting a lot of these.
well, that's just the thing, right? And then they become meaningless.
Right.
It's the same thing. Of course they know what we want.
Right.
So it says for information, so shall we just receive it then?
Sure.
Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Dabrowski. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. That's passed unanimously. 10.10, Niagara Falls, Canada Hotel Association. So here, there's been some misinformation that's been shared around the social media. So we have a response back from the Executive Director of the Niagara Falls, Canada Hotel Association, Doug Burrell. So I guess bottom line, the first thing we should note out of this letter is hotels have been designated as an essential service by the province of Ontario. I think that's the most important fact in this letter. And the second thing I think that's important is not only are they there for residents, but many of them have been used to provide needed accommodation to essential workers and frontline workers, including nurses and all sorts of people who are in need, and oftentimes at reduced or free charge. So that's why they're there. So to be clear, municipalities have no authority over businesses in a community, none. We can't close down restaurants, we can't close down attractions. It's a decision of the province, and the province has decided that they are an essential service. So we just want to clearly articulate that to everyone, that they are an essential service. They have to remain, they can remain open if they choose, and they're doing a lot of good things while they're open. Is there any other questions or comments anyone wanted to add? Councillor Carrier.
Well, Your Worship, the letter is pretty self-explanatory, but you know, for the people who are emailing and writing to us, especially those of us that maybe are in this industry, the last thing that we want to see is that the business is open and they don't open properly, and we have a problem with people coming here and getting infected. So the people with the most to lose are the people that are in this business, work for this business, have family members that work for this business. The last thing they want is to put any of our staff at risk or any of the other residents in the municipality at risk. So for those people who are driving around suggesting that the city is full of tourists right now and that we're encouraging them to come here, it's absolutely false. That's not true. We're staying open. Most of the people that are come to our hotels are people who are maybe isolating. Maybe they have someone working in the healthcare system and they want a place to stay away from that person, or that type of thing, or workers in the industry, people that are working on projects, they have to have a place to stay. So that's why they cited us as being an essential service. So we are trying to do everything the way the province has mandated, plus a lot more. We're going to open with unprecedented conditions for the safety of our guests and our staff and the citizens that come in contact with our guests and our staff. And we'll be dictated to by the province and the feds.
Yep, that's great. So looking for a motion to receive the letter from the Hotel Association. Moved by Councillor Dabrowski, second by Councillor Strange. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you for that. Item 10.11, Niagara Medical Academy's hardship faced by Niagara physicians. So folks, we got a letter here from physicians in Niagara. I guess they're just wanting us to be aware that a lot of them are hurting as well. Their lives have been disrupted, yet they're on the front lines having to take care of sick people and putting their lives at risk every day. And they've got their own financial concerns as well. So I think they just wanted us to be aware. They weren't asking us to do anything specific, but they did want to make us aware. And I did speak with Dr. Luderman yesterday on some other things that they're doing as well. So maybe a motion to receive their letter, I guess, would be most appropriate. Moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Strange. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. Thank you. Item 10.12, Town of Oakville Rent Relief Advocacy Letter. So there's a recommendation. They're looking for support from for us to support them regarding commercial rent assistance programs. Motion by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you for that. Item 10.13, St. John Ambulance potential merger. Councillor Thompson?
Yes, I had a phone call from Mr. David Trotter, who is the chairman of the St. John Ambulance in the last day or so. And I told him to get in touch with Ken Todd, and he sent this letter in at the last minute. And he is the chairman, and everybody knows St. John Ambulance in Niagara Falls, the busiest and most successful probably in the province. They run our Caravan for us. They also run our lifeguard situation in Chippewa Creek. In fact, when for a couple of years it didn't work out, there was several deaths, drownings in Chippewa Creek. So they do a great job. And of course, as St. John Ambulance, they're everywhere where we have any kind of activity to make sure people are safe. Anyway, he called me and said he's heard that there is talk about St. Catherine's, St. John Ambulance, taking over Niagara Falls. And he was extremely upset that the St. John Ambulance is nothing like what they do in Niagara Falls. They have a good financial situation here. They do not in St. Catherine's, and probably one of the ideas behind their thinking to take over what we have here in the city of Niagara Falls. And he was very upset about that. They have 50 volunteers. They've all discussed it, and they said they would be out of there altogether. They would not volunteer anymore. And the rest of the letter is self-explanatory, and I just want to make a motion that this has been brought to our attention, and we make a motion that we totally support St. John Ambulance in the city of Niagara Falls, and we reject the suggestion of St. Catherine's taking over our St. John Ambulance operation. I don't know how they could do that. They have a St. John Ambulance for the Canada, and maybe they're looking that that would be the way that the decision would be made at the federal level. So I would like this to get out as quickly as possible. Mr. Trotter's letter is very obvious, and he's very concerned about it and wants to carry on with what we have in Niagara Falls. So I would make that motion.
Okay, motion by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Strange, that we support our St. John Ambulance Niagara Falls branch, and that we are opposed to any other group taking over our group. Is that right? Yeah. Councillor Pietrangelo.
Thanks, Your Worship. The only question I had is in regards to our agreement for Niagara Caravan services. Is our agreement with St. John's Niagara Falls branch, or is it with St. John's in general? So for instance, if there was a merger and St. John's Niagara Falls branch became part of a much larger group, would that nullify the agreement that we currently have?
No, they have it with the Niagara Falls. Remember a couple of years ago?
That's what I want to hear.
They were thinking of not doing it, yeah.
Well, so let's find out, maybe Matt, did you want to address that? Do you know the answer to that question? Matt Bilodeau?
What about Bill? Does he?
Or Tiffany?
Mr. Mayor, I have the answer to the
Okay.
question. Yes. I just happened to pull up the agreement in front of me, and it is with St. John Council for Ontario operating as Caravan.
So not with the local?
So not with the local.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, good to know. Thank you for having that.
And how long is that agreement for?
Can you tell, Tiffany, how long that agreement's for? That you can't tell, can you?
Yeah, I probably can.
1 year, 2 year?
If I'm not mistaken, it was ending in June. I think it might have gotten extended to December of 2019. Oh, here it is. This agreement shall commence on June 1st, shall continue until May 31st, 2020.
2020?
It's ending now.
So it ends this in a couple
Yes,
weeks?
I remember.
Wow.
1 year.
There you go. So we'll make sure that the language is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, Your Worship, I guess my point is that if the agreement is going to end on May 31st, then we basically hold the cards as to who we want to give the agreement to. So that should be a major factor in who gets the agreement going forward.
Okay. So we've got the motion by Councillor Thompson.
Maybe we should include that in the motion, that we move forward and let them know that we're ready to renew the agreement.
Okay, so the seconder was Councillor Strange. Okay, so 3 parts then. First part is that we support the St. John Ambulance Niagara Falls branch. Secondly, that we don't support them being taken over by any other branch. And thirdly, that we are preparing to renew our Caravan service at the end of May as well.
Yes.
Does that sound good? Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah? Okay, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you for that. Resolutions, Mr. Clerk? None. And do we need to any rise and report?
For any ratification of in camera, just to close the loop, council did pass a motion earlier on the agenda today to go in camera for 2 matters. Both were direction to staff, so there is no report coming out of in camera.
Okay, thank you. So now we're going to bylaws.
Motion the bylaws be given first, second, and third reading, Your Worship.
Councillor Pietrangelo will make the motion, seconded by Councillor Dabrowski, that the bylaws be given a first, second, and third reading. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved unanimously. New business. We'll get the chief to check the temperature of Councillor Pietrangelo. He doesn't have any, I'm concerned.
I have them, I just.
Oh, here we go. Councillor.
The chief's temperature?
Councillor Dabrowski.
The Corbett Land Strategies proposal in the St. Thomas More School that we approved earlier. We're just disappointed to hear that we haven't reached out to Pathways Academy, and I had a chance to briefly chat with Michelle Walker, who runs that school. Was wondering if somebody from city staff, maybe economic development, could reach out to Michelle Walker to see about potentially moving or relocating their school in the coming months or years, and working along with Pathways Academy effectively.
Okay, so, and moving them from where to where?
They don't know where they're moving it. So once the school's demolished, they don't have a plan on where they're going to move. I would hate to see that school leave our community. I know there's I think there's about 150 students or children that go to that school, and once the school's demolished, obviously they'll need to relocate somewhere, or we'll lose the school. But I thought it'd be proactive on behalf of us, the city, to reach out to Pathways Academy to help them along the way of processing their relocation.
So motion by Councillor Dabrowski, second by Councillor Pietrangelo, that our economic development staff reach out to, her name is?
Michelle Walker.
Michelle Walker at
Pathways Academy.
Academy, that's currently in St. Thomas More School.
Yep.
To help them find a suitable new location.
Once they're ready to move, I mean, they're hoping to stay in their current school as long as they can, but obviously with that development going forward, it could be a matter of a year or two where they have to relocate.
Sounds good.
The second item I had,
Can we just call the vote first? We'll just call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, that's approved. Okay.
The second one, Antica Pizzeria. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the Massive family. They held a fundraiser about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago for Project Share. They raised over $14,000 for Project Share.
Awesome.
Was hoping that the city could send a letter of congratulations to the Massive family for everything they do in the community and for the success on the Project Share campaign as well.
Okay, motion by Councillor Dabrowski, second by Councillor Pietrangelo, that we send a thank you to the Masia family for their Project Share fundraiser pizza drive. That was $10 a pizza deal they had. That was
$10 a pizza. Well, they've obviously sold over 1,000, but and they did announce as well when they did a check presentation at Project Share that they're going to continue that charity event year to year. So they're hoping to do it again next year. So it'll only get bigger and better.
It's a great idea. Did I call the vote? All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. New business. Any other new business? Okay, motion for adjournment. Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? All right, great. And June 2nd will be our next meeting. So everybody stay safe. Thank you.